block, the larger part of the block, and police just keep moving people down here, of course, trying to figure out still what is going on. And many people are actually not moved very far from Mandalay Bay at this point. There are some people standing outside here waiting to see what exactly is happening out here. We'll keep talking to people and see what else we can uncover as we're out here. Reporting live, Christy Wilcox, back to you, Gerard.
Okay, Christy, thank you once again for the update. Stay safe no matter what you do. I want to let people know that whenever there is a situation like this, a mass potential casualty situation, and we essentially have the majority of our police force involved in this, it's very difficult to get information because the information is very fluid at the time. We are getting many phone calls to our newsroom right now. I mean, my personal phone is just going crazy. People are asking for information. We have reached out to MGM. Of course, we're in contact with Metro, but in terms of exactly what is happening, there is no official word. Now, my police sources are telling me that essentially what has happened is there has been a mass shooting. 2 suspects confirmed, many victims, and my police source tells me, in fact, that there are several fatalities, confirmed deaths near the main stage being the stage where the Route 91 Harvest Festival concert was taking place, directly across the street, across the boulevard there from Mandalay Bay. Multiple gunshot victims. There was immediate panic, as you might imagine. People were running in all directions, including out onto the tarmac, which the airport is right there. You know, they have those private jet hangars, and now those crowds are now being ushered into a specific area away from the Mandalay Bay Hotel. That is where the shooters are believed to be staged. The 2 suspects, possibly more, and Metro is on the scene. SWAT teams are on the scene. They have been in the process of clearing the floors, clearing the area. That entire section of the strip is now blocked to traffic. People have been evacuated from there. Several properties, strip properties, are on lockdown, and parts of the roads are blocked as well. We're showing you live pictures here. You can see Metro officers pretty much in all directions. There goes a large contingent of officers headed, we believe, in the direction of Mandalay Bay. But they have been deployed in massive numbers, as it is believed that there are mass casualties as a result of this shooting incident. Nathan O'Neill is standing there. Nathan, you've been talking with some of the guests who have been evacuated from the scene there. What can you tell us?
Yeah, well, I can tell you it's been a very terrifying situation for a lot of people out here. And for us, as we got on the scene, you could see the urgency in the police officers who are moving in. We just saw that team that was moving, that tactical team that kind of moved in. But a very serious situation out here. And I want to bring in Danny here. He's visiting from Australia. You were in the Mandalay Bay a little bit earlier. Tell me what you saw, what you heard.
We saw first officers about 8 running into the lift bay at 31 lift bay. They were going up, they were coming down, they were going this way, that way. We were told to get out, we were told to get in. The shooters, one shooter's up there still, we were told by police, shooting out, and one's roaming around, and we've been told to come here, and we think we're safe here because there's so many police.
Did you see the shooters at all?
No one saw it. But
did you hear anything?
Yeah, a lot of people heard gunshots. But the initial gunshots were apparently like machine gun fire.
So it was like a rapid fire.
Yep.
And so when you heard that, I mean, what was your reaction when you heard all that?
We knew there was chaos and mayhem because people were running out of everywhere, and the police were really unaware of where the ground person was. They were going this way, that way. There's SWAT everywhere. We were tucked away, about 12 of us, in a little, like a car park thing, and then it was like the SWAT came, they said, hands up, this way, we're unarmed, we would usher out this way.
You said that you described to me that you were running from Mandalay Bay for like the last hour. Why do you feel like you were running? I mean, we
didn't know where the shooter is. You know, the police were wanting to tell us to go in, they were telling us to go that way. So we knew they were confused like we were, and we just wanted to stay close to then this one SWAT car, they ushered us out, and they said go that way, and we would come this way. And we feel, like I said, there's a lot of police here.
Run, and then we started running. Yeah.
Like full on sprinting, or
we're running. Yeah. And, you know, carrying bags and helping people. And we stuck, there was about, 12, 14 of us that we all stuck together. a couple of big boys, bigger than, like big boys, and we thought, well, we'd have a chance if we stick together.
What went through your head, I mean, when you heard shooter?
I'm from Australia. We don't cop this sort of stuff in Australia that much, but you just try and keep as many people safe, I suppose, and you run what people tell you.
So are you guys staying at the Mandalay Bay?
Yeah. We had conferences there tomorrow, today, and the next day.
Did you see anybody that was injured or hurt?
No, apparently all the Twitter reports is that the shooters were shooting at the concert across the hall.
Well, thankfully you guys are okay. Hopefully everybody can keep safe out here. Okay, looks like we have some movement here. They're kind of expanding the perimeter here. Police are telling everybody to move further south, so we're going to do that as well. And if you can turn the camera here, you can see it looks like teams are getting ready to move in. So this is escalating here, at least in the urgency that we see. A lot of people out here with their phones trying to document it, but we can see. But let's try to migrate with them so we're not getting in anybody's way here. But as you can imagine, trying to get thousands and thousands of people to move all cohesively and out of the way and keep them out of harm's way, I mean, that's the priority here for Metro and all of the law enforcement agencies that are out here right now. But it's a surreal sight to see.
All right, Nathan, whatever you do, just make sure that you're following the advice there of the officers and the commands as all the residents there are and the citizens are. We want to go ahead and show you some images as well that we've been receiving via social media. This is via Banjo, and what you're looking at here are the crowds running, presumably after those shots were fired. Some of those people you see there hitting the ground for their own safety, and we don't know if they were told to hit the ground or they heard those shots and they just did that out of their own reaction time. And we're also getting some new information from our police sources that, in fact, we have been hearing all evening that there were multiple victims as a result of this shooting. So many now we're hearing that the ER at UMC is at capacity and that many of the victims are now being transported to Sunrise ER. Multiple gunshot victims, including a Metro police officer, we understand, was shot in the neck and transported to UMC. Other victims as well. And police sources telling us that it is believed that some of those are fatal victims, sadly. So obviously it's still a fluid scene, as you can see. Nathan showing us just moments ago that the SWAT teams are still moving in. We've got some live pictures here now that we're showing you of the crowds as they're being ushered away from that active scene. Police there also moving, we believe, towards Mandalay Bay, and we know that there was a group of Metro officers and SWAT teams that entered Mandalay Bay just a short time ago. It appears that they have called in for backup, perhaps just to make sure that all of the areas are covered here. But again, it's believed that there are two, possibly more, active shooters somewhere on the Mandalay Bay property, that they were firing at the crowd that was attending that Harvest 91 concert, the Route 91 concert just across the street from Mandalay Bay, and that's when the chaos ensued. Those shots were fired, people began running, and there were multiple victims that were unfortunately shot, and all of that information still coming into our newsroom. Christy Wilcox is down there with the crowd as well, and we want to send it over to her for an update from her vantage point. Tell us first where you're at, Christy, and what you're seeing.
Well, we're right at the intersection of Las Vegas Boulevard and Four Seasons Drive, and police have been actively telling us to move back, and that's probably why you've seen our video be, shaky, and because we're continuously being pushed back. We just saw about 20 officers across the street from us on Mandalay Bay with their weapons in hand, moving toward the scene out here, and of course you can see all these other Metro officers coming up on the scene here. Gosh, the cars just keep coming, and they keep asking us just to move back and to move back, because they're really not sure, I believe, how safe things are out here at this point. You can still see the officers moving up the side of the street up here. They're passing in front of the Mandalay Bay sign at this time. And actually, we have another police officer right here in front of the liquor store asking us again to move, and I'll get out of the way here. You can see that they're very concerned about people's safety out here and just locking down this scene at this point. We will continue to move back here, of course. Because you just don't know what's going on out here at this point, and obviously they're very concerned about folks out here, the rest of the folks out here, staying safe and just getting them away from this scene as we speak. Gerard, I'll send it back to you.
Okay. This is Latoya. Are they telling you anything about what they think may have sparked all of this? Have they gotten that far yet?
I have not spoken to Metro Police yet. I mean, what we're getting is a bunch of the Metro officers have just continuously moved us back further and further from the scene, because I think it's likely they don't know where these shooters or where these active shooters are right now. So I haven't heard much from Metro, but I have been talking to people out here locally on the scene, and actually right here behind me, another officer asking us to move out of the way. I think they're just very concerned. And actually, okay, so let me show you here. I had just told you that police, about 20 police were down by the Mandalay Bay sign, but you can also see right here across from us off of Four Seasons Drive and Las Vegas Boulevard, we have another group of police officers standing here getting ready, I would imagine, to move in that direction as well. Hey, Scott, can we move this way? We can show these guys over here also preparing. So there is just a massive amount of police presence down here, worried about folks. All these roadways, of course, blocked off at this point. Gerard and Latoya, I'll send it back to you.
All right.
Here we
Chrissy.
go. SWAT is right here. SWAT just across the street.
We want to go ahead and get our viewers up to speed. We're showing you some live images near Mandalay Bay. This is where all of this is taking place. SWAT teams in place, active shooter teams are in place. 2 suspects, it is believed, were firing shots from Mandalay Bay to a crowd of concert goers. They were attending the Route 91 concert, the Harvest Festival, which is taking place at that outdoor stage just across the street from Mandalay Bay. It's that same stage that the iHeart Music Festival uses. And we're told that the shots were fired during the finale of the concert when Jason Aldean, a country performer, was singing his final song. When the shots rang out, crowds, of course, panicked and started dispersing immediately. They ran in all directions. We're told some ran all the way towards Top Golf. In fact, there was a gunshot victim who ran in that direction. Others ran out onto the tarmac of the airport near where the private jet hangars are. And obviously there was some panic. Now, what we've confirmed through our police sources here at News 3 is that there are multiple victims, possibly multiple fatal victims. Many were taken to UMC. We're told the ER there is at capacity, and that they are now moving many to Sunrise ER. There were so many victims, according to my police source, that Metro units were actually transporting victims in patrol cars. They couldn't wait for ambulances because there were victims right there needing immediate attention. I'm joined now by Latoya Silman and Reed Cowan, and I know that in these scenes, we've all covered these situations. This information is all coming to us. It's a very fluid scene, as we see from these live pictures. SWAT teams are still moving in. There is the distinct possibility that this is still an active shooter scene and they've not apprehended the suspects.
That's right. And so if anybody out there within earshot of this broadcast has communication with anybody down on the Strip, tell them very clearly to follow the direction of police. Immediately on that scene, follow direction of police. I can tell you both, Latoya and Gerard, as I drove in from Summerlin there on the 95, I passed 4 ambulances headed towards the Las Vegas Strip. Actually, they passed me going in that direction. And so you could just see, by virtue of what was going on there on the 95, that this was a very serious scene and the ambulances were being dispatched from all areas of the valley.
Yeah, police showing up in mass force. In fact, Nathan is down there covering things for us as well. Nathan, what can you tell us? What have you learned since we last saw you?
Well, we're still moving. Police keep telling us as we are walking down Las Vegas Boulevard that we have to keep moving to keep everybody safe. And it's a slow but steady pace with thousands of people telling them to keep on the sidewalk so they can keep the roadways here, because they do have patrol cars that are kind of coming through and trying to make their way through here. But they're telling us all the way down to Sunset. That's where they're saying is potentially a safe area. And you can see all of these police officers here. They're coming from all over the place, by the way. We saw Henderson Police. We also saw Metro. We got Clark County Fire out here. A lot of first responders all out here. It's all hands on deck at this point. But I was just talking to some folks that were, I believe, on the 14th floor of Mandalay Bay facing the Strip. They told me that when this all went down, they heard the gunshots coming near their room. They could hear it. It was rapid fire. They heard what they said was hundreds of shots. And we're going to walk down here, so we're just trying to make sure not to trip while we're doing it. Hundreds of shots that were coming from several floors up. That's what one witness told me, and they said that they actually had a daughter that was in that concert venue. They were worried about her. They were able to get in contact with her, but someone was shot that was really close to her. Thankfully, that woman is okay as far as we understand, but a lot of people, just trying to figure out exactly what's going on here, and it is a very scary situation. You see a lot of people crying, hugging, holding hands, just trying to find comfort, and it's a very chaotic situation, but you can still see the help is coming. We see more Henderson Fire paramedic. We have more Metro kind of moving all over the place. But again, we're still walking. We were up at Russell and Las Vegas Boulevard to begin with, and they're telling us to go down to Sunset, and they're saying that's where they want everybody, just to make sure that they're safe. Because if these reports are true, they're saying that these potential shooters were at a high-rise position, and it's a very dangerous situation, not only for the officers, but for everybody around here. And we got more movement coming out here. But there are some, as you can tell, this is a very dynamic situation. We see some people kind of tripping and falling, trying to keep up with the pace. But it's difficult. These are all different types of people. These are people who work at the casinos. There's locals, there's tourists, there's people who are just here for the concert. And they're all trying to make sure that they're safe and make sure that their loved ones are safe.
Okay. Hey, Nathan, we're just getting an update from one of my police sources who says one of the suspects has been found dead in a room at Mandalay Bay. We are working to confirm that. That is believed to be true. We have not confirmed that just yet. But obviously, this is still an active situation. We are also hearing from Community Ambulance, a private ambulance company here in the Valley, and they tell us that they have dispatched every one of their units to the scene, and it appears that there are multiple sites now with active shooters. Again, that part with multiple sites is not confirmed, but that's what they're hearing via the ambulance company. So obviously there's just a lot going on here, and police are trying to get a grip on it, and the priority is to get people safe and get these suspects into custody ASAP.
The question I have when I hear that update, that the suspect has been, according to your source, one of the suspects has been found dead in a room. Is that a hotel room in a high-rise tower? Because you just heard Nathan say that a lot of people down there are thinking that some of the bullets came from above or from a high-rise. So it makes you wonder if they didn't storm some of the floors there and watch the security cameras and get up there.
And that's what we heard early on from one of our police sources as well, that the two suspects, believed, confirmed at least, that they had a high ground position, presumably from a high, hotel room, and that they were armed with high power weapons, some type of a long gun, and which would give them the capacity to shoot that distance into the crowd that was all the way across Las Vegas Boulevard.
And communicates to our sinking hearts the idea of planning that has presumably gone on for quite some time.
Right. And that's the question that we all have at this point. Well, first, obviously, we want everyone to be safe. We want everyone to be evacuated. If you happen to be down in that area, you know people, have received calls from people who are down in that area. You just have to pay attention to what police are telling you, what authorities and first responders are telling you to do. Do not take chances. Don't try to turn around and go back to your room if you have a room, or go back to whatever venue you were in. You have to pay attention to authorities in situations like this. We have every reason to believe that this is still active, in the sense that we saw all those SWAT officers still moving into the scene. So we believe that they are still in the process of trying to apprehend a suspect or suspects who were believed involved in this shooting.
Right, and as you were just saying, Gerard, you know, there are a lot of people down there stuck. One of them happens to be one of our own from News 3. Her name is Shella. She's on our production staff, and she was actually in the Mandalay Bay when this shooting just erupted. If you could, go ahead and tell us, Shella, she's on the phone with us now. Where were you? What was happening? Just kind of walk us through your experience here.
I work at the Mandalay Bay, but I was actually in the crowd. I had walked across the street to go see the show, the last act, Jason Aldean, and I was right by the stage.
Shella, are you safe where you are right now? And what did you see?
Yeah, I'm home right now. We heard like this loud noise, and someone next to me told me it was like the speaker blowing out or something. And then some guy, like 3 people behind me, he was all covered in blood, and he fell down, and I heard people screaming, "He's dead, he's dead." And then to my left, I heard people screaming, someone else was dead. And then Jason Aldean ran off the stage, and then everyone just ducked down, and they just kept shooting rounds. They were just shooting. It was like nonstop, and then they would stop for 5 seconds and reload, and then they would just shoot again into the crowd. And I just kept hearing people screaming that they were shot or that someone was shot, and we were just sitting ducks right there, and they were just shooting right into the audience.
Shelley, can you tell us what your reaction was? I mean, how did you get out of that situation? We have heard that there was a panic situation, that people were confused and they weren't necessarily sure what to do or what to go. We've been showing some video of people running from the scene. Some of them actually hit the ground, presumably after some of those shots were fired. Can you tell us how you reacted and how you managed to get out?
There was a bunch of people around me just telling me, like, just stay low. Someone's shooting, just stay low. And then some people were running, and someone said that if they were getting shot, people were running and they were falling down. So I assumed they were getting shot. But it wasn't stopping. It was nonstop rounds, and I didn't want to sit there anymore because I figured I was just waiting my turn. So I just got up and I ran to the church across the way, and I went behind the church. And there were a bunch of people behind the church, and there was a girl next to me who was shot, and people were giving their bandanas, their shirts to try to stop the bleeding. Her leg was all shot up, and there were, I guess, officers or men with...
You saw a lot of injured people there around you as this was taking place.
Yeah, and I didn't know what to think. I just came to see the last act, and all these people everyone was just so bloody. It was like a massacre. Like, we were just all there in one spot, and they were just shooting right into the crowd.
Well, Shella, we thank you so much, and we're so grateful that you're okay. I can't imagine, though, what still must be going through your mind. Probably a lot of shock, because like you said, you just went for the final act. You had no idea that something like this could happen. Were you able to talk to police? Were they telling people to try to get to a certain place, or did you just go straight home?
I went behind the church, and there were policemen with bullets across their chest, and they had rifles, and they told us to stay on that side of the building because the shooter was on the other side. And everyone was asking, are they going to come around to this side? Are they moving? Are they mobile? And they were like, you stay here, you stay here. But when the ambulance came to take the injured, there weren't many people behind the building, and people just started to run. And I was one of them, and I ran to my mom. My mom picked me up halfway down the street, and as I was running, everyone was just bleeding. There was just so much blood, and everyone was just injured, and I was just jumping over all these people running.
Shella, stay by your phone, Shella. Now that we know you are okay, our thoughts are with so many people whose condition is questionable at this hour. We want to let our viewers know that we are not going to be leaving the airways. We will have continuing coverage through the night. This has happened in Las Vegas, a mass shooting, an active shooting here in Las Vegas, on the Las Vegas Strip, right at the end of the Jason Aldean concert during the final song. We have to, when we are conveying the information, remember that we are talking about people who are still down there on the Las Vegas Strip. So if you are watching this either here in Las Vegas or elsewhere in the nation, and this coverage is streaming right now live on MSNBC, We want to let you know that we are here through the night. We will get you the information that you need. We will provide phone numbers that you can call to learn about the victims. We will provide phone numbers and resources so that you can get all of the updates that you need throughout the night. We are here to serve our viewers, and that's what we will do as we watch police out there running towards the violence to try to save lives.
Let's check in with Nathan O'Neill, who is still down there on the scene. Nathan, what's your vantage point and what's happened since we last saw you?
Well, we've been walking all the way down Las Vegas Boulevard. We're headed towards Sunset. That's where they tell us, and they start telling everybody in the crowd to go ahead and stage, and that's going to be the safe place to get to. Right now, you can see we're right here by Maverick Helicopter. This is a ways down south from Mandalay Bay and away from a lot of the staging area for police. We've seen a lot of movement for law enforcement over the last few minutes up and down the boulevard. We can see a lot of the helicopters. They're kind of circling around, and we have several different agencies out here dealing with this as well. But you can see, just look at this. We have families on vacation right here with their luggage, families and children, and they're having to experience this like so many others right now, all wondering what's going on and when will this end. We just saw a SWAT vehicle move in right here, if you can see. As I said, a lot of movement as far as law enforcement goes, a lot of police rushing toward the scene. But I do want to take you back to a little bit earlier. We got here on the scene maybe about 10-15 minutes after those first calls were made, because we were in the area, and we stopped and we started talking to people who are in that venue, in the crowds. We did a quick interview with them. Go ahead and listen to part of that.
Clip after clip after clip, bullets flying everywhere, everybody running. It was really, really bad.
And you guys said that there were multiple shots fired.
We were the furthest VIP stages away from Mandalay Bay, and they were ricocheting everywhere where we were. So they were firing from somewhere high, and they were unloading clip after clip after clip after clip.
So there was a shooter, you believe?
Multiple shooters.
Multiple shooters.
Has to be.
How many people were hit?
We have no idea. Hopefully none, but there was obviously people hit.
Did you guys see any victims? I mean, as far as...
We just saw one drive by right now,
hanging out of the back of the truck.
giving CPR, because he had probably been shot.
Out of the back of a truck right now, CPR.
Wow.
There's bullets ricocheting, like down by the bottom of our feet, because we all got on the floor, crawling out, rushing, because everybody's rushing out. We hear the bullets right on our feet.
Ended up being hundreds of shots.
Yeah.
So it sounded like hundreds of shots to you.
It was hundreds of shots. It wouldn't sound like it was hundreds of shots.
And then what happened? I mean, how long ago did this happen? 5
minutes, not even.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's still, people are still running scared. The back streets are all full of people trying to hide out. I mean, it sounded like a firecracker, and then it ended up not sounding like a firecracker at all.
What did you guys... And there you go. There are a few of the first moments in the chaos and the fallout of what has happened here. Those people rushing out of the venue as this is all happening, telling us firsthand what they experienced. But as you can see, it's a much different situation at this point, because everybody has been migrated from Mandalay Bay all the way down Las Vegas Boulevard, at least from our side of things here. You can see they're all here on the east side of the boulevard. They're trying to keep them on the sidewalks, but they're still moving all the way down. I want to turn the camera down, because just look, this is a completely stark kind of difference between the Las Vegas Strip and where we are right now. It's actually pretty dark out here. There's no street lights. It's pretty dark, except for those first responders rushing to aid, trying to help people who might be in need at this point. But as you can see, we have still a ways to go. They're telling us all the way down to Sunset just to get everybody safe. And we still have people behind us as well, walking with us. So we're experiencing this along with so many other people right now, but we're going to go ahead and send it back to you.
All right, Nathan, thank you. Just incredible to hear the testimonials from those folks who are down there and actually experiencing this. Again, we have heard that there were multiple shooters, multiple victims, and in fact, we are still hearing that there may be multiple active scenes. In fact, there is a report from a police source that says there is now an SUV that may have a suspicious device that is being looked into near that scene as well. We have a clip of video that comes to us from Twitter that we want to show you. We're just going to go ahead and play it for you, sound full.
So you're hearing the aftermath. Hopefully we can cue that back up again and go to the top of that video and let you hear it.
I think you can hear the rapid-fire gunshots at the very beginning.
There it is, right there.
Unbelievable.
And then the reaction. You begin to hear the screams of the crowd.
Unbelievable. I just got goosebumps after hearing that. That is a really, really tragic piece of video and sound that we just played. Police sources again saying that it was at least 2 people armed with high-power weapons, and they were firing them in rapid succession. And now we have that evidence, and we're hearing exactly what those officers have described. Now we're waiting for an official statement from Metro. Obviously, their hands are full. They're still assessing the situation, which we believe is still an active situation. We have heard reports that there are multiple active scenes. We know Mandalay Bay is one of them. There may be a suspect who has been killed there at the scene at Mandalay Bay. That we're still waiting for confirmation on, but there are other areas as well.
Security guard Anthony is on the phone. Anthony, what is it like down there? It sounds like a war zone.
Basically, I was standing by one of the gates when we heard what we thought was fireworks, and we saw the people coming toward us. We were like, hey, go the other way, guys. And then we started realizing, oh, this is gunshots. Next thing I know, this dude is just firing off rounds like crazy. People are running out the gates. I got people coming up to me with gunshots, blast cuts, and steps on them. We're trying to get them out as fast as possible. I mean, I even drove three to 5 people over to a medical station that they had set up nearby off of Las Vegas Boulevard. By the time I got back over there, most of the people had been cleared out, but everybody else was just laying there, bloody, dead. It was a complete war zone. This was one guy with a fully automatic M4 and an M9. As far as I knew, he was by himself at the time.
Anthony, can you speak to what the security measures were here at the festival?
So the first thing we heard on the radio was take cover, take cover. I immediately just started just hiding people either out the gate or out another gate so they could get to safety. As soon as I started getting injured people, I started throwing them in any vehicle that I could, having other people taking them to the hospital. Once we got everybody out, I started heading back in to make sure everybody was fine, and that's when I started transporting people to the hospital or a nearby ambulance.
And where are you now, Anthony?
I'm at one of my friends' house now. We're miles away right now. We were both right there, just in the midst of the whole thing, just in the midst of the chaos.
We want to be very clear to our viewers. You're seeing this video and hearing that rapid fire there from these weapons that you can just hear. This is not happening right now. This is video from social media taken within the last hour or so. We do know that this is still a continuing scene and very active scene, and we have not heard that the shooter or shooters have been caught or killed. But we do want to be very clear, if you're tuning in right now, that that gunfire you're hearing is not happening right now on the Las Vegas Strip.
Initially, this happened right around, I would say, 10:30 or so. That's when we first started getting our information. It was as the concert was wrapping up, the Route 91 Harvest Festival concert, a country-themed concert that was taking place outdoors. If you're familiar with that area at all, there's a sort of an open field with an outdoor stage area that is set up directly across from Mandalay Bay and the Luxor area. Some of the folks that we've been speaking to say they ran to a church. There is a chapel near there as well. A lot of them, we heard one of our employees here say that they ran back there to take cover as these shots were being fired, and this was at the direction of officers who were at the scene.
And what's so heartbreaking is what Sheila also said, is that, you know, she was getting down low. People were literally getting hurt all around her. It was a bloody scene, and she thought, I'm a sitting duck. If I continue to stay here, I will be next. And so that's when she ran to that church for cover. But as we could hear it, you know, you're at a loud music venue. You may be thinking it's a speaker that backfires. You may be thinking that it's fireworks. A lot of people just confused at first about what was actually happening. And then, of course, we talk about this all the time, about what Metro does and what law enforcement is doing, because we know that we are one of the most popular places in the world, where tons and tons of people come here for recreation, and so it's a soft target. But you still never think that something like this could actually happen here. And to hear the mass casualties that we're getting reports of, and the fact that people were so desperate that they're putting them into regular cars and rushing them to the hospital, and the fact that we're also getting reports that UMC is saying we're overloaded now and they're possibly sending people to Sunrise, you just don't think it could happen here, even though we know that we are a soft target.
And we're hearing stories of people being loaded on the back of pickup trucks and taken to medical centers. We're hearing that Metro Police put people, as many as they could fit, in the back of their patrol cars and get them to the hospital. At one point, our own reporter Christy Wilcox was hiding behind a cement barricade and has been moved several times. Number one, Christy, are you safe? And number two, what's the update? Okay, we've lost Christy.
At this point, we believe anyway. We keep getting moved down the way here. We are just behind the Mandalay Convention Center, right by Las Vegas Boulevard, and I believe if I step out over here, I can tell. I think we're just south of Russell, and I am hearing that there are 2 homicide squads that are rolling. Another 2 are on standby. That is from a police source. We also had someone from Concierge working inside the Mandalay Bay walk by and say, you know, one of her crew members had just seen dead bodies laying on the ground. I mean, very, very distraught people walking by. And I can tell you, when we came down Russell to park over here, we had a man come running up to us, blood down his shirt, saying his friends were dead, and please come help him. And then he went running down Las Vegas Boulevard back towards the scene, asking people, anyone, please just come help me. And then he got so distraught a little later that he actually pushed our photog away out of the scene. And as you can see, multiple police here just setting up, getting ready to move towards Mandalay Bay as they are needed. We have Clark County Fire over here, of course. And I don't know if you remember, but a couple months back, I had reported on a mass casualty from the fire department that had 80 stretchers on it. It had enough equipment on to handle a situation. I'm trying to confirm that if it is out here right now assisting on this scene. I am not sure. Of course, we're getting as much information as we can on the ground, but many people just reporting those fireworks. It sounded like fireworks at first, and then eventually those pops, they realized that it was a serious situation and happening out here. Just want to show you this live situation. We have ambulance over here, of course, still trying to figure out what's going on. Plenty of people who are fire meds out here just below or south of the Mandalay Bay Convention Center. You can just see the lines of police cars, of medics, other people just helping on the scene, trying to figure out how to get this under control and just keep everybody safe out here. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right. Thanks so much, Christy.
We know that obviously is the priority. We are hearing now, we got another report from Community Ambulance, and this is also disheartening and discouraging. Initially, we heard that there were casualties, including fatalities, near the main stage, which is across the street from Mandalay Bay. Now, EMTs at Mandalay Bay itself report that there are many casualties on the ground at the property there. So, again, we're getting multiple reports of multiple injuries and casualties as a result of this, what appears to be a mass shooting involving at least 2 suspects that occurred immediately following this concert, the Harvest 91 concert outside Mandalay Bay.
And every time you hear about someone saying it was bloody, people were running, people were dying, you think that's someone's father, that's someone's sister,
Absolutely.
that's someone's mother.
There's
somebody, and this is not just numbers. I mean, these are people who really just went to have a good time, some of them possibly on vacation. Of course, a lot of people here, locals, were looking forward to this 3-day festival as well. A lot of people just looking for a good time, and now This is a moment that they will never, ever forget. None of us will.
We're looking at a live picture here of the Las Vegas Strip. It's a picture we almost never see. A section of the Strip, a large section of the Strip, is empty, and you see all the blackness there, and that's as a result of police and first responders blocking off the streets, evacuating people, and just making sure that people stay away from a scene that very well could still be active. We have not heard that this is over by any means. In fact, we are continuing to get reports that SWAT and Metro units are searching and canvassing the area. What we have not heard in the past at least half hour or so is a report of any more shots fired. So that perhaps is some good news.
There's a ripple effect here. We're also hearing right now that flights in and out of McCarran have been temporarily halted. I can also tell you that word coming in via many sources I listened to coming in that all of the Strip properties right now, people have been told to shelter in place. People in their hotel rooms told to stay inside their hotel rooms. So this is having a ripple effect. I'm also understanding the I-15 just adjacent to the Las Vegas Strip is at a shutdown as well. So if you at home are watching this and you have the ability to text message somebody, tell them to do what they are hearing from police. And police are communicating to us, communicating to the casinos to shelter in place and to get as far away from the Strip as you can if you are in a car. Nathan O'Neill right now, and his photographer, providing us this live picture. Nathan, what's the update?
Well, Reed, you were just talking about that ripple effect on McCarran Airport. We're right next to it. We're just on the west side of it, actually, and we haven't seen any planes take off. It's been a ground stop, effectively, that we've seen over here, which is a very eerie sight to see, especially if you're familiar with this stretch of road right here, Las Vegas Boulevard. But again, all you see going up and down Las Vegas Boulevard over here, they're all patrol units. They're all emergency units. They're all coming down, and we can see a flight of them coming down right now. And I will tell you, it's kind of a dangerous situation because it's not really well lit out here, and there have been people that have been moving down this road, and they're kind of darting across, trying to get across the street. And we've seen a couple of those squad cars have to stop in their tracks because people are kind of getting in the way. They're trying to keep people on the sidewalks and keep them out of harm's way, not only of this dangerous situation, but the response here. They need this corridor so they can actually get through to the areas that they need. But just look at that. Las Vegas Boulevard south here, completely dark right now. All of these folks told to get away from the Strip at this point, but we're going to go ahead and send it back to you. We're going to try to catch up with some people that are across the street. They're kind of down here trying to figure out what to do next, so we'll send it back to you.
All right, Nathan, stand by. We'll be back to you in moments. We want to show our videos now, a piece of new video that was sent to us by a viewer who was there. Again, this, we understand, is graphic video. We're watching this for the first time. We believe that you can, once again, hear the gunshots. Let's go ahead and roll that video.
So what you hear at the top of that video, the rapid fire right there from automatic weapons coming from above, we are told, and then now you start to see the crowd run. There's more.
Really, really hard to even watch this unfold. Multiple gunshots fired in rapid succession, and then you have the crowd, as you see there, panicking immediately after, including the person who was shooting this video. Obviously, you know, there was immediate panic and there was immediate confusion, and as we've heard from multiple people who were there on the ground and our police sources, people ran in all directions to escape what they believed was the shooter and were real bullets, and we've since learned that that in fact was the case. We're waiting for word, official word from city leaders, from Metro County leaders. They are all involved in this, and they are trying to get the information that they can relay to our viewers. We're trying to work in tandem, and we want to be very careful about what we report. We're showing you what we believe to be true, the information we're getting from viewers, from people who were there, and from our own police sources. And what we know thus far is that there was an active shooting incident following the concert that was taking place out there. At least 2 shooters involved. They were believed to be in a high position, possibly on an upper floor of the Mandalay Bay Casino, firing down onto the crowd. It is believed that possibly some shots were fired inside the casino hotel property as well. All of this information is very fluid, and we're getting it really minute by minute here from a variety of sources.
Counterterrorism crews are down there as well. We're also understanding that hospital personnel from every hospital in our valley has been paged in. So if you were a morning shift worker at a hospital here in our valley, you have now been paged in. The ER at UMC is full, and now the wounded and the victims are being taken to other ERs throughout the valley. You're seeing on the right side of your screen how it is affecting traffic off of the Las Vegas Strip. And so we have a mass casualty situation. If you are just tuning in right now, News 3 committed throughout the night to getting you all of the information that you need so that you are informed. Started around 10:30 this evening at the end of the Jason Aldean concert at Route 91 Harvest Festival. And then let's go ahead and show that video that came in from social media, and you'll hear, as we pause here for a moment, you'll hear that rapid fire into a crowd. A lot of people down on the ground, including one of our own News 3 staffers who did escape into the safety of a church, thanks to some police officers who directed her that way, said that bullets were ricocheting at her feet and that people were falling all around her. And so this is the crowd, and we're going to pause and listen.
You can just tell by that video there that some people are reacting to it, some people are not, because they're trying to figure out what is going on. And just when you think it's over, it starts again.
Right. And,
wow.
and a lot of times there are fireworks at concerts like this, and so people were probably confused, as we've heard. There's another clip of video that came into us from Twitter that also shows the gunshots, and you can hear the gunshots, and we'll go ahead and play that and listen in as well.
So what appears to be a coordinated attack here on the Las Vegas Strip. And you know, we who live in this valley know that we are family here in southern Nevada. We're a tight-knit community. But when you fly into McCarran or you drive in on the I-15, you become a part of this family here in southern Nevada. And so that is how we embrace the people who are here. And that is definitely the feeling as we see the police lights, as we hear of those harrowing scene of people putting people and doing CPR in the back of trucks, Metro Police putting people in the back of their cruisers to try to help them and get them to some semblance of safety. And then you have to know that counterterrorism officials, Metro Police, North Las Vegas Police, Henderson Police, and even security guards, as we've heard on the air in recent minutes, are rushing in while people are rushing out. And so this is the scene down on the Las Vegas Strip, ambulances. And I'll just reiterate, as I drove down from Summerlin about 45 minutes ago, 4 ambulances passed me very quickly just to communicate the seriousness of the situation and the wounded.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely all hands on deck. And you talk about the fact that we know that there are multiple casualties. We also had that report of at least one officer, too, that was shot in the neck. And so you can imagine what's going through possibly those officers' minds as they're trying to make sure that everyone is safe. And then you have these ordinary people who, again, just going to a concert, who literally became heroes, who stepped in to try to save one another. And so we always have this situation where you have these horrible, horrific situations, and then you have regular people stepping up to the challenge, doing whatever they can to not only get out of harm's way, but also thinking about that stranger. As you mentioned, this is a place that is tight-knit, but it's also everyone's city. Everyone loves Las Vegas. Everyone probably has been here at some point in time. And so this is a situation where people are just, you know, grappling onto the person next to them and saying, okay, let's get through this together. And I think that that is remarkable. I do want us to go ahead and play that video again that we just played, because it's just, it's jaw-dropping to hear it in full, the gunshots in rapid session over and over again. Can we play that?
two waves of gunfire that we hear there, and I kept track right there. You could hear that first wave that went on for about 45 seemingly endless seconds. Then it sounded like perhaps they were reloading. Another 20 seconds passed, and then another 45 seconds of that rapid-fire gunfire from above down into the crowd. Craig Figner, another News 3 staffer down near the Mandalay Bay where this happened. Craig, what are you hearing?
Okay, apparently we're working to get Craig. He's down there near the Luxor. One thing I can assure you, response to this from authorities was very swift. It had to be swift. There's a fusion center that we have here in Las Vegas, which is really a combination of all of the first responder agencies, police, fire, even the FBI and federal authorities. They work in tandem at this fusion center, which is near the Strip. There is a fire station there directly at the ARIA, at City Center. And Metro has the Strip sectioned off into various sections where they have officers who patrol regularly night and day along several sections of the Las Vegas Strip. You can bet that they all responded to this as quickly as they possibly could. But as we have just heard from the gunfire that was coming, we believe, from Mandalay Bay, this all had to have happened very, very quickly. So even the quickest response was probably not quick enough in terms of getting to the victims and those who were down as a result of the shooting.
To our listeners here in Las Vegas and all over the world who are now watching this, we can tell you Metro Police have been able to take down one suspect. We're understanding there could be several suspects, not only at that Mandalay Bay property, but also peppered along the Las Vegas Strip with multiple scenes. But we do know one suspect confirmed down, and by down we mean dead, no longer able to hurt anybody.
Nathan O'Neill is at the Strip as well. He has been slowly moving south away from the Mandalay property, and that is at the direction of authorities who have been also moving bystanders and tourists away from the active scene. Nathan, what can you tell us at this point?
Well, you can see we're right here, just west of the airport, actually, McCarran Airport. You saw security patrols doing kind of perimeter checks on the airport right now, but that's because it's a complete ground stop. There are no flights coming in or out. The skies are empty except for Metro's choppers that are kind of circling in and out over the last hour and a half. And over that last hour and a half, we've been making our way. We were up at Mandalay Bay when this started, and we were talking with a lot of folks about their experiences, what they saw, what they heard. And immediately, the entire Strip started to kind of be cordoned off by police. They came in, they shut it off, they started getting people and the crowds moving, and they told them to move south. From our vantage point, they told everybody to move south and to the very east end of the Strip right here. And they've been making their way. A lot of people have made their way all the way down to Sunset, and we're kind of halfway in between Mandalay Bay and Sunset at this point. But if you take a look over here, this is a jack-in-the-box, and it's kind of become a holding area for some people. They're all kind of stuck there. They have nowhere to go, trying to figure out what's going on. But again, this entire corridor, Las Vegas Boulevard, kind of turned into a tactical route for police. They're moving in and out all over the place at different times. But right now, we can tell you that a lot of folks have made their way away from the high-rise areas of the Strip. There's nothing around us you can see here, and that's why I believe police were telling everybody to get away from the Strip. And if you are on the Strip, they put in that shelter-in-place order. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Nathan, because it's still a very active situation. As you heard Reed say earlier, one suspect is down, but we're being told right now that there's some type of suspicious device in front of the Luxor. We have a crew in that area, so we hope to get more information, but a suspicious device in front of the Luxor that's coming from police. And so certainly they're having to be a lot of people at a lot of different times. I mean, this is something, thankfully, though, we do have confidence in this police department because we know they train day in and day out for the worst situation, and unfortunately, the worst situation happening now.
Some of the information that is coming in is chatter information, and part of the challenge for police is ciphering through all of that and discerning what is real and what isn't real and where those threats exist. Now, we know that there is some type of suspicious device that is being looked into. We heard earlier that there was a van near the Luxor that was being sort of closed off, and police were moving in. Hazmat and bomb teams were looking at that. Craig Figner has joined us now. He is live at the Strip as well. Craig, I believe you're near the Luxor?
Yes, I am on Las Vegas Boulevard, and I am between the Luxor property and the Excalibur. And I was here to begin reporting for broadcast with a television camera when the Metro officer said to move back, to get away, because there is a suspicious device that they are looking into that is at the Luxor property. Again, they don't know for sure if it's indeed threatening, but they said it looks bad. That was the quote from a gang enforcement officer with Metro. And then just a few minutes after that, there was at least a dozen, and I'm going to be tweeting this out, a dozen Metro cops with lights and sirens on going south on Las Vegas Boulevard, and they were going south of Mandalay Bay. In fact, there are more now. There is a ramping up right now of police activity right where I am here at the Luxor property. And, sir, you said that your significant other was one of the people who organized that music festival. You haven't gotten a hold of that person. So these cops now, they're not lights and sirens, well, not sirens, but lights. 1, 2, 3, 4. I see a bomb squad vehicles. There are at least a dozen more Metro units here now, massing around the area of the Luxor entrance here at Las Vegas Boulevard. All of this, you would presume, is connected to what I learned from a gang enforcement officer about something suspicious there. But then I spoke with this person who had some inside information about the concert that was happening. He said he had been told that there were several areas of concern, and like he is, I am here, and the cops, Metro, will not let me even leave this area. So here I am to observe this, and clearly we are in the middle of a police situation where there are several different places of concern here on the Las Vegas Strip. This is something I don't think anybody has ever seen before here in Las Vegas.
Craig, how far are you from the Luxor, where that SUV is now being surrounded by bomb squad and other counterterrorism people?
I am probably less. I'm closer than a quarter mile. Maybe even closer than that. So,
and you know, as we listen to you, Craig, it's just a clear indication that this is not over yet. This is going to be a very long night. We saw those first two waves of attacks, that rapid succession gunfire into the crowd right at the end of the concert. Now we're understanding this suspicious device being investigated in front of an SUV. So to all of our viewers, Metro Police and all of the people who are working on this is still an active situation.
Right, and we're also getting a report from a Las Vegas hospital that at least 2 people dead, 24 injured, 12 critical after the shooting at the 91 Harvest Festival here in Las Vegas. Christy Wilcox is at Las Vegas Boulevard in Russell. She's actually standing by with the witness. Christy, what can you tell us?
Well, we've been working our way from the Mandalay Bay sign all the way down, pushed down this way. You wouldn't believe the number of police officers out here, SWAT out here, ambulances, and I have Cody right here beside me, and he has relatives. Is that right? Down closer to Mandalay Bay.
Yeah, my brother's down there. Was down at the Route 91 when the shooting broke out. A lot of them were able to escape into a large hangar. EMS, fire, first responders are doing a wonderful job making sure they're safe and okay. Most people are doing all right. They're starting now to make sure that they're getting them evacuated in safe quantities. But for the most part, it's just a phenomenal job by the first responders here. So they're trying to get them out safely.
What did you think when your brother was first texting you this information?
I actually heard it from my mother first, beside herself crying. It's hard to believe that this is actually happening. You know, you think about it, never think it happens. It's surreal to watch this unfold, especially in our city. Hopefully we're prepared. It seems like they're doing a great job. It's just, you just God bless anyone that's been affected by this. There's going to be a lot of wounded. I'm a registered nurse specialized in emergency medicine, and I can really sympathize for this. It's going to be a long couple days for the folks of this town.
I mean, I'm hearing that there's every single resource out here when it comes to first responders. I mean, as a nurse, what are you thinking at this point?
This is what we do best. what's going to happen. Everyone pulls together. It's a well-ironed machine here. Everyone's going to do a great job. We all need to pull together. That's what the city does. And all the hospitals are going to come together. We're going to make sure everyone gets the best care. It's just going to be a long night.
And you're obviously very, very feeling better that your brother has expressed that he's okay.
100%. It's the first thing I did. I'm just glad I was able to get through to him. He's definitely shaken up. He's a tough kid, tougher than I am, most definitely.
How old is he?
He is 23, 24 years old, yeah.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to see people going through something like this.
No, not at such a young age. And there's a lot of young people of all ages down here. It's a traumatic experience. It's something that no one's going to forget.
Can you describe anything else that he said as he's been in there?
He just said it's just pure chaos. He said the police and law enforcement are doing a good job of trying to keep everybody calm. Everyone's just worried, trying to stay in contact with their families. They're doing a good job telling them all to stay down, stay safe. They're making sure everything's very safe and secure before they're attempting to move anybody. It seems like you could hear some shouting and screaming in the background. People are definitely scared, but it seems like they're doing a hell of a job.
Okay. Thanks so much, Cody. Again, we're going to turn right around here and show you what's happening behind us. We are right by the Harley-Davidson motorcycle dealership, right south of Russell Road, south of Mandalay Bay here, and you can just see all the resources out here. You know, when we left that area, we saw groups of police, SWAT teams moving in that direction. Looks like it's going to be a long night out here. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Indeed. All right, Christy, stand by. We're going to be checking in with you in just a bit. We want to bring in with us now retired Metro detective, homicide detective Phil Ramos. He is a friend of News 3 and a friend to the Valley, and we call on him when there are incidents such as these for his expertise. Phil, before we get your comments, what we'd like to do is play a little bit of that video that was sent to us by a viewer who was here, who was at the scene rather, and sent us this video of the shooting as it was taking place. Take a listen to it and give us your analysis of what's happening out there.
Okay.
Okay, I think you got the gist of what was happening out there. It appeared that there were two periods of gunfire, rapid succession gunfire. What can you discern after seeing that?
Well, I mean, it obviously was very likely an automatic weapon, fully automatic weapon. In other words, a fully automatic machine gun, and several shots in a row indicating that this person was well armed and had quite a bit of ammunition available to him. The idea that someone would take a position of a high angle position at a hotel indicates that they had this pretty well planned to begin with, and then to shoot into the crowd like that, it's just kind of mind-boggling. You know, it's kind of mind-boggling. These are the kind of things that you train for and that you hope never happen, but now that they have happened, it's just, I can't even imagine the chaos on the Strip right now.
So 12 seconds was how long the first blast went. Then it went silent for 15 seconds, and then another 15 seconds of sustained gunfire, which is why Metro's counterterrorism task force is down there right now. At what point do we say, hey, this was a coordinated attack on a weekend night in the Las Vegas Strip?
Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's so early right now to tell, but once they're able to get some kind of handle on who was involved in this, once they're able to find out where they were at, I believe there was some indication that one suspect has already been located in a hotel room. So they'll be able to get a lot of information from that, and once they're able to gather this information, talk to witnesses, you know, it's so early. I don't know that anybody wants to use the T word at this point, but it's certainly looking like it's got that potential just because of the coordination of this.
When you listen to the shooting happening, Does it sound like a situation where they ran out of ammo so they reloaded, or do you think this could have been something where they stopped for a minute and maybe the other person chimed in, because we're being told that there was more than one shooter?
Yeah, it could be either one of those. It could be, the shooters may have been in two locations. They could have been right next to each other in the same position, and one of them was shooting and the other one took over when magazines ran out of ammunition and they had to change magazines, and then they started shooting again. It's really hard to say at this point. But the information that we have is that it was at least one shooter, possibly more. And then there's just been a bunch of false reports coming in as we've been watching this of active shooter situations occurring up and down the Strip, and they've all turned out to be false. So there's something to be thought of right there, because why would somebody do that?
Yeah.
Well, to that point, when you have a situation like this, no matter how much you prepare for it, people are literally running for their lives, and you see it there, the pandemonium. They're going every which way. I know that police prepare for these type of things, but what can you really do when you have that many people in an open setting like that and literally just trying to get out as fast as they can?
Well, the very first response that the officers are going to have is to try to get to where the active shooter is at, and try and locate the injured people and see how badly they're injured, and get them out of there and get the rest of the people into a location of safety. But at the same time, you can't spend a great deal of time when you're responding to make sure that people are getting safe, because you have to get to where that shooter is.
Phil, give us an idea of what's happening at this point. It's about an hour and 15 minutes or so after those initial shots were fired. Would it still be considered an active situation? I mean, this is going to go on for some time.
Yeah, it will go on for many, many, many hours. What they're doing right now is just making sure that everything is secured at the Mandalay Bay, making sure that there's no areas that haven't been checked. If there is, in fact, one dead shooter in a room, then they'll be checking that immediate area, get all the information they can on this person, and then gather intelligence as to who he is, why he was there, when did he check in, did he have room service, anything like that. So they're going to go floor by floor, room by room, just to clear that entire hotel, and that's going to take some time to do that.
This happened at 10:30, the last song of the Jason Aldean concert right across from Mandalay Bay, in that open area where they have outdoor concerts, bullets flying from above. 2 waves of bullets. We are reminded that in some of the attacks that we've seen overseas, the Bataclan concert venue, it was at the end of the night. We saw attacks outside of an airport elsewhere in Europe where they waited for people to run out, position themselves for the exit, and that is where it happened. And Phil, we've been on the air and we've been talking to a lot of people who've been calling in, and one of them, our own News 3 staffer, Shella, who said as she ran out, Metro was running in and others were running in, but bullets were ricocheting at people's feet and people were falling at her side. As LaToya reiterated earlier in this broadcast, she said, I knew if I didn't run then, I would just be one of the others.
Yeah, and what a horrible situation for those people to be in. The one thing that I find curious that would give me an indication that it may not be terrorism is that the shooters were so far away from where the victims were. Generally what you see in a terror situation like that is they just blend right in with the crowd and either detonate their own vests that they use to kill people with, or they just start shooting randomly, very close range. So the fact that this shooter or shooters was several yards away, that kind of got me wondering if this turns out to be an act of terror. It may not be as organized as we've seen in
Very
Europe.
good observation there. And speaking of people on the ground, we have Ashley Milani, who is from Australia 7 News, a reporter who was there at the concert. Go ahead and tell us, Ashley, when did you realize that something was going wrong?
Yeah, good evening, guys. I'll just clarify. We were staying in the Mandalay Bay Hotel overlooking the concert, and I was staying on the 27th floor. So was in bed and heard the sound of this gunfire that woke me up. And it was just this thundering volley of gunshots that we could hear, extremely loud, echoing across the Vegas Strip. So we quickly evacuated. We went down to the lobby, and it was just chaos in the lobby at the Mandalay Bay Hotel. They had a difficult decision to make. Do they keep us in the lobby where they know there is an active shooter, or do they send us out onto the street where he's firing. So there was a lot of confusion, a lot of panic at the time. We've since learned that that gunman had shot through the window. I've heard that he may have been on the 20th floor, which might have explained why it was so loud. And like with other reports, it was just continuous gunfire.
The crowd. Tell us about the crowd. You know, Jason Aldean is known as a family entertainer. Who did you see in the crowd? Give us a makeup of the crowd. Families, we would presume?
Yeah, so from the hotel room on the 27th floor, I could see thousands of people. Like you say, there would be families. This concert started in the afternoon, so there were people that were gathered here from this afternoon listening to music. It's gone into the evening, and it would be around the same time that this gunfire has started that the music went silent. But like you say, there would have been families there, people, lots of visitors, lots of tourists amongst the crowd. Once we came out on the street, a man came running towards us with what looked to be blood on his shirt, saying that he needed help. There were bodies in there. You know, he seemed quite frantic at the time. You know, we don't know yet exactly what the death toll is or the number injured, but going by the number of gunshots that we heard into a crowd like that, they would have been completely helpless.
All right, Ashley Mullaney from Australia News. We appreciate your input there, and you mentioned we don't know the numbers. We certainly don't at this point. This is something that is obviously fluid as well. The report that we received from the hospital recently is that there are 2 dead confirmed, 24 injured, and at least 12 critical, but that was a report we received about 10 minutes ago. 1 suspect is deceased, and we know that among the victims is a police officer, a Metro officer who we believe was shot in the neck and transported to UMC. This was immediately following that initial round of gunfire.
And we want to let you know, if you have a way to text message somebody down on the Strip, Facebook has now launched a crisis response page, and they're telling everybody, please get on that crisis response page. If you have your mobile phone with you, let your family know that you're safe. Just check in on the Las Vegas Strip, say you're safe. Antonio Castellan is down there right now. News 3's Antonio Castellan. And Antonio, what are you seeing and hearing?
Reed, Metro Police squad cars have taken over the streets in front of UMC Hospital. They've set up a large perimeter. No one is being allowed inside this perimeter. There are several frustrated people coming here to check on their loved ones, and what they are telling me is that they are not being allowed, and they want to know how their loved ones are doing. We've talked to one gentleman who says that he drove his friend who was shot in the back. He drove her here to UMC Hospital from Mandalay Bay. He says it took about 30 minutes, and it was very difficult to see his friend bleeding in her back. He dropped her off here. He did a heroic thing. Now he's in the dark. He doesn't know what has happened to her. He feels that she's going to be okay. What we've just been told by Metro Police is that they will be having some briefings at the Metro Police headquarters maybe in the next 30 minutes, so maybe some new information will come there. But one of the things that a police officer told me is that the emergency room is filled with wounded. How many wounded, we don't know. Some of those wounded are being taken to other hospitals. Where those hospitals are, we haven't gotten that information yet, but what we've been told by someone who actually was able to go inside the emergency room to check on a friend, he came out and he says that it's very tense. There are nurses and doctors hurrying to take care of the wounded. Many people have come in with bumps and scrapes from falling on the ground when the shots rang out. It was very chaotic. People were pushing one another. Several people have told us that their loved ones were shot in the back. So those are the injuries that we are hearing at this time. We did see crime investigators, Metro Police crime investigators. So it seems that the crime area has reached out here. I'm sure that the police are going to be retrieving evidence from the people who are wounded here. That will be used as evidence. Those are some of the things that we're seeing. And as I told you, a large perimeter has been set up. If you're not supposed to be here, Metro Police are going to make sure that you're out of here, because I have seen many people try to come up and police have their guns out, and they've pointed their guns because they don't know, if anyone's armed, they're taking many precautions. We've seen people get their bags checked. It's a very tense situation out here. There are probably 20 Metro squad cars and several fire engines that have arrived on scene. We're just trying to see if we could get an update from the staff here at UMC Hospital. We're not sure if that's going to happen tonight, but as you can imagine, it's very tense, and there's a lot of frustrations out here as people try to get answers.
Antonio Castellan, stay there. We want to go to the video right now of that came in through social media of some of the gunfire that we heard. 12 seconds of sustained rapid gunfire, 15 seconds of silence, and then another 15 seconds of rapid gunfire. We've got retired Detective Phil Ramos on set here, and while we queue up that video, Phil, Antonio's hearing of people shot in the back. Many people there at UMC shot in the back. A very busy ER, but you hear of that kind of a wound, and you would presume that those are running wounded, people who are running away and are shot in the back.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that is kind of perplexing about this, because not knowing exactly where the shooter or shooters were, firing into the crowd is going to get that crowd to react, and they're going to start running away. So while they're running away and they're still being shot, it just shows you the advantage of a high ground position when you're the shooter, and that tells me that this person or persons knew exactly what they were doing and probably had some kind of practice or training to set this situation up. I mean, you just don't decide in the middle of the night you're going to go to a country music festival and just open up on a crowd of people and not have it already planned out.
Phil, we also heard from EMTs and some police sources that there were victims right there by the main stage, out there outside of Mandalay Bay, but we also heard that there were victims inside Mandalay Bay on the floor there. Now, we are getting a variety of reports, but let's say that is in fact the case. That would lend itself to the possibility that in fact maybe there was more than one shooter.
Right. And I mean, my gut tells me right now there was more than one person involved, just because of the number of injuries, the number of possible fatalities. There's reports that there's victims that are there at the scene that are already beyond any help, and they've been declared deceased. So with that kind of firepower, number one, and the amount of ammunition that these people had available to them, I just can't see that this was a one-man show. There had to be more than one person involved, in my view.
And now they're saying there could even be a situation near the Luxor with a suspicious device. So that also could speak to being more than one person involved.
Yeah, and the other thing that comes into play is there could have been several distraction events that led up or that occurred when all this was happening, when the officers were responding and running into the Mandalay to start dealing with this active shooter. There were reports of shots at different locations coming in that ultimately turned out to be false. I mean, there were officers actually, one report was at the Tropicana Hotel. There was officers at the Tropicana Hotel, and they said, no, there's been no shots fired here.
Which may have been by design. The person behind this may have wanted to be the author of confusion to kind of get them off of their scent. Before we continue with you, Phil Ramos, we want to go ahead and get on the phone with Josh Jamison. He was on the 30th floor of the Mandalay Bay when the shooting broke out. What can you tell us, Josh, from your vantage point? What were you doing at the time, and how long did it take you to realize, oh my goodness, this is real?
We don't have Josh anymore. What we do know, thinking of Josh in his hotel room now, is that there are a lot of people, indeed thousands of people, inside their hotel rooms who have been told by numerous strip properties, stay inside your hotel room. It is completely a lockdown, shelter in place. And so we have people who are tuning into televisions and they're watching this play out right now inside their hotel rooms, and like Josh, watching to see what happened that they heard just outside their window.
Phil, maybe you can tell us a little bit about sort of the procedural protocol when something like this takes place. We're looking at video that shows a portion of the strip is bumper to bumper. So it would appear that some of the exits there near Mandalay Bay, perhaps Tropicana or Russell, are actually closed off to traffic. We know that a portion of the strip, from Nathan's report and Christie's report, has been closed off. And of course, people were evacuated. They've been kind of huddled up in specific spots, but tell me how that all gets coordinated and what is the response?
Well, the very first thing that the first responding officers do is to make sure that the injured people around them are treated and taken out of the area and get some sort of medical treatment as soon as possible. I mean, the first thing they have to do is get there safely and timely, so that they don't waste their time getting in an accident or something like that. So you render aid to the injured first. Make sure that those victims are taken care of, whether it's other officers coming to take care of them or medical personnel to take care of them. In this case, medical personnel couldn't come in there because of the shots being fired.
Right.
So the officers had to do the transporting and get them to a triage area, and then other officers. That's why you see such a huge response. There's officers taking care of wounded people. There's officers securing the area. Then there's the active shooter and the SWAT teams going into that hotel and getting there as quick as they can while the shots are being fired.
Right.
News 3's Christy Wilcox at times has been moved back and forth, and even at one point sheltered behind a brick wall. She is talking to a victim right now. Christy?
Yeah, we were sheltered under and behind quite a few things as we were making our way down the south of the Strip, because police were just, pushing us down. And right here, Brianna, you were here for your 21st birthday.
Yes, that's correct.
Tell me a little bit about what you saw, what you heard.
We went back up to the room, and as soon as we reached the room from the concert venue, we just heard constant shootings. At first we thought it was fireworks, but then it was shooting.
And then somebody said something to you to tell me about that experience.
Yeah, so there was a lady who pushed her way forward into the concert venue, into the first row, and she started messing with another lady and told us that we are all going to die tonight.
Do you know why she was saying that? I mean, was this after the shots were fired, or?
It was about 45 minutes before the shots were actually fired, but then she was escorted out by security.
How does that make you feel? I mean,
it makes me feel uncomfortable, especially coming here for my 21st birthday and not knowing if I'm safe, not even knowing if I'm safe going home tomorrow on an airplane. So.
And how did you get out of the venue after this all happened?
We actually weren't there whenever the shooting had occurred. We had already left about maybe 10, 15 minutes before that, but we just barely made it back into our room whenever it started.
And I mean, were you thinking, oh my gosh, this woman told us that before we left?
Yeah, I thought it had a positive correlation to it. Like, obviously she was telling us that in either to tell us, to warn us, or to tell us that we were all going to die, and she was part of it. So.
Okay, we're going to ask you a question here. Go ahead.
So I have a question. Let's nail this down so that it's a matter of record. I want to know the description of this woman. We hear that this woman who made her way to the front of the stage and then told a lot of people, you're all going to die tonight. I want to know from this witness here on scene the description of this woman, just so if any of our Metro partners are watching this, it is made a matter of record tonight.
Okay, so they want the description of this woman. Describe to me what this woman looked like.
Her and her boyfriend were both Hispanic. They were probably about shorter 5-footers, probably about 5'5", 5'6". They just look like everyday people.
Can you tell us anything more about them, what they look like? Why were they escorted out? Were they escorted out because you were feeling uncomfortable about what they said?
Yes, because she had been messing with the lady in front of her and telling her that she was going to die, that we're all going to die. So they escorted her out to make her stop messing around with all the other people in front of them, but none of us knew that it was going to be serious.
Bree, did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
We want to caution and remind everyone to sort of be careful about some of the information. We're doing our best here at News 3, along with the help of Detective Phil Ramos here, to try to be as responsible as possible with the information that we're delivering. This is clearly a tragic event that is affecting many, many people. Something that could potentially turn out to be terrorism. It could potentially turn out to be coordinated with multiple suspects. But as far as an official word, we have not received anything officially from either Metro Fire or even MGM. We have reached out to all of them. They've all told us that they are in the process of gathering information. They're working on getting us facts. But obviously, this is still ongoing. People are still being moved around, sheltered. SWAT teams are still in place, still searching for things. We just got a report not too long ago that there was a suspicious device. Craig Figner was reporting that there was a van outside the Luxor that was being searched. We heard that there were possibly multiple active areas. All of this information, I assure you, and I am confident Metro and all of the authorities are looking into each and every one of these. and you can bet that they're going to be doing that before they reopen any portion of the Strip.
Right, and that's a very good point. It reminds me of when Dallas had the active shooter during the protest when the officers were shot. There were so many different eyewitness accounts of it was this person, it was that person. They even put out the wrong person of interest in quotation marks. And so you really want to be careful when we're getting these eyewitness accounts. This is what they're saying that they saw, but we have not gotten anything confirmed. And this is so new. As we know, only one person is down. They could still be looking for a second person. And so everything is still up in the air, active. Police are still very much trying to make sure that people are safe right now. And so they will start to do that important police work when the time comes. So right now, making sure people are safe, making sure no one else is hurt is the #1 priority right now. So very good point to bring that up, because a lot of emotions are raw and we don't know what those people were down there doing. It could be very significant. It could be not significant at all.
If you're just now joining us here in the Valley or elsewhere in the world, we will recap now what has happened around 10:30 p.m. Las Vegas time. The last song of the Jason Aldean concert at the Route 91 Harvest Festival. And perhaps we can cue up some of the video that came to us from social media so you can really get a picture and hear what happened there at the scene. Rapid fire began to ring out from above, we are told by many witnesses on the scene. Rapid fire into a crowd of hundreds and hundreds of people. About 12 seconds of sustained fire, then 15 seconds of silence, and you saw a crowd just sort of stunned, not knowing how to react to that. And then once again, it got very real, 15 seconds. From there, people went running out onto the Las Vegas Strip. They ran over to McCarran Airport, which is now completely shut down. Flights in and out completely stopped. This is that video I'm talking about. You're going to hear that rapid fire.
Okay, and we're just getting word now from one of our producers. Metro does not believe that there is another shooter involved. So this could be very well over. They do believe it's just the one shooter, and as we reported earlier, that person was taken down. We also want to point out, as we're talking about getting information from police, they plan to have a media briefing in about 10 minutes or so, so hopefully we can learn more about the person that they did take down earlier this evening. But again, we're hearing from police. They do not believe that there is a second shooter. They believe this was one person acting alone in this situation. And when you hear that, Phil, you were saying earlier that could be quite possible because, you know, they started shooting, then they stopped shooting and started again. So kind of tell us when you hear that now police are saying they believe it's just one person.
Well, they have to have developed some very good, solid information to make that statement in the first place. So I'm thinking that as the investigation continued into where the one suspect was found, several weapons could have been found in the room. Hundreds of rounds of ammunition could have been found in the room. And for them to be able to say, we believe that there's only one shooter, then I'm certain that there was some conclusive evidence in that room. Yeah, that was the only shooter. I'm very surprised at that just because of the number of shots. But they wouldn't be saying that if they weren't very, very sure that that was the case.
And you think about the confusion that takes place after something like this. You don't know if there are shots being fired from the ground right there at the concert venue, if they're coming from far away. In this case that you described earlier, that sounded, and I think we can make the safe assumption, like an automatic weapon, some type of long gun that had the automatic capability. So the confusion part was certainly evident after that.
Oh yeah, and you know, especially in situations like this, when you've got that many people enjoying themselves and having a great time, and then to have a traumatic event like that occur, it takes a while for the mind to catch up with what's going on. I mean, here you are enjoying a concert, and next thing you know, you're running for your life because you hear gunshots. The information that comes out is going to be so varied and so different from person to person to person. And you know, I would just reiterate what Reed said. If this individual who heard a woman say, we're all going to die tonight, if there's any accuracy to that, if you were either spoke to the woman, saw what she looked like, or heard that statement, go find a uniformed police officer and say, I have some information that you guys need to know about. Right. They're not going to shoo you away. They're going to say, okay, tell me what you know. Because if that's true, if that really happened, that's absolutely critical to this investigation.
Let's talk about the victims who you saw running in the crowd. This is just very preliminary, but the last word that we had confirmed, 2 dead, 24 injured, 12 of them critical after the shooting at the music festival. We have heard from a police source that UMC in our valley, which has a world-class trauma center, Gerard, is full, and they've now had to take the victims over to many other hospitals, Sunrise Hospital. I also have a source in the medical community saying that all hospitals and all medical centers in our valley had their employees come in and man these emergency rooms and these trauma centers to receive the wounded. We also understand from people on the ground, not the least of which are one of our own staffers here at News 3, that people were running wounded. They were running bloodied, trying to take shelter and trying to get out. We're also hearing accounts of people jumping into the back of trucks and people receiving CPR in the back of trucks. Metro officers taking people in the back of their cruisers to emergency rooms and to get help. So the official count is 2 dead, 24 injured, 12 critical. Phil, you've got to wonder if those numbers won't go up through the night.
Oh, I'm certain they will. Those numbers right there are just coming from the hospital. We don't know what's going on at the scene yet. What'll happen is the people that are being treated at the hospital, the hospital will release that information, but the hospital doesn't know who was at the scene. By one account, there are several bodies at the scene located there, so that's going to have to be taken into consideration, and this rate will climb significantly as the investigation continues.
To add what you've just been talking about, we've also been receiving reports from viewers and from people who were there that there were others who were being arrested there at the scene, and that's quite possibly people who were unruly or maybe they weren't cooperating with authorities. They didn't want to evacuate per se, and that happens as well.
That is going to happen, and it's because people are in a panic, and the officers realize what's going on, but a lot of times the people who are attending this concert may not have had a clue of what was going on, and why are all the cops here? Why are they telling us to get on the ground? I'm certain there's a certain amount of alcohol that was flowing there, and people become inebriated, and then they don't pay attention to reason anyway.
Probably foreigners, out of town. They don't know our laws. They don't know our rules.
So,
language barriers.
Right.
So the cops have to do what they have to do, and if you're not doing, in a situation like this, if you're not doing what the cops tell you to do, you can expect something to come from that.
Right, because at that point they don't know who's the good guy and who's the bad guy.
Exactly.
What else can you tell us as a ballistic expert when you're listening to that rapid gunfire? Is there any other clues that you maybe could give us about the type of weapon that was used and the type of person who may be able to effectively use such a weapon?
Well, the second part of your question, anybody could effectively use that weapon. All you have to do is go to the range a little bit and get used to it and learn how to shoot. Anybody can learn how to do that. The type of weapon is certainly indicative of the kind of training this person would have had. It's very hard to try and distinguish anything more from a gunshot, especially in a crowded area like that, because the acoustics are so crazy down there. You've got gunshots echoing off of these, buildings that are so high.
And that was recorded on a cell phone too. We probably need to let people know on a little tiny microphone.
Yeah. So unless you are expertly trained in pristine conditions, there's very little you can determine as far as what type of gun fired the gunshot that you're hearing. It's very hard to do that.
We are understanding Metro will be giving a briefing any moment now, but we want to ask you, Phil, what's your word to people who have family members down there on the Strip who are communicating, no doubt, by cell phone, by text messages? What's your word about following police advice down there?
Just do what the police tell you to do, because they are in a state of mass confusion down there. So you have to understand the officers are trying to respond to a situation that could mean several people are dead, several people are injured. Just try and understand that. If an officer tells you to do something, please just do it and understand why you're being told to do that.
Absolutely.
All right, very good advice. And Christy Wilcox down on the Strip and talking to another eyewitness. Christy?
Yeah, LaToya, we're actually being pushed even further south from the Harley-Davidson motorcycle shop down here, and now police are telling us we have to either keep walking south or get on this transit bus, which is taking all the people that were on Las Vegas Boulevard to a safer location. And I'm here, we're going to walk with Daryl. Daryl got separated, or Darren, I'm sorry, got separated from his wife while he was inside the concert. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it was very scary. Jason Aldean had just come on, and he had about 3 songs into it, and all of a sudden we heard a couple shots real quick, and it sounded like firecrackers, basically. I'll walk.
And okay.
So anyway, so all of a sudden the shots got real, and I had my wife had dropped down to just kind of duck, and I told her to get up and let's just start going. And as we did that, there was a gal that was off to the right of us that got shot in the side of her face and was bleeding. And anyway, so it was very scary at the time. And then I got my wife up. As I got her up, two guys came running by that were carrying a girl or somebody that was all bloody, and it looked like they had been shot. And we kind of there were so many people running in so many directions, and it was so scary that my wife and I got separated. And
do you know how your wife is doing right now?
She's okay right now. She's actually inside the hotel in one of the restaurants there, locked down.
And you said another friend of yours, it sounded like, was shot in the buttocks.
Actually, it was a friend of mine's. One of her people that she worked with, I don't know, I guess a few years back. So I don't know who she is or how that happened.
Okay. Just a little bit more information. Like I said, police continue to push us back here on Las Vegas Boulevard as we're headed towards sunset. They're just trying to keep everybody safe out here tonight. Of course, telling people to get on some of these on some of these buses to load them up and get them south on Las Vegas Boulevard and just away from the scene as far as we can get. Right now, reporting live, Christy Wilcox, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Christy, thank you so much, and we appreciate all those viewer and witness testimonials, victims as well, as a result of all of this. We are just about a minute or two away from an official Metro briefing, the very first since this incident began. At this point, I want to send it over to Nathan O'Neill for a quick update from his vantage point. You're south of the Mandalay Bay on the Las Vegas Strip. Nathan?
Right, and we've been out here since about 10:30 when we first heard about what was going on the Las Vegas Strip. We started up at the Mandalay Bay, and just like so many of the tourists and the visitors and locals who are out here on the Strip, they've been forced to leave or to shelter in place if they're not in the Mandalay Bay. Now, a lot of those people have since kind of made their way down here to we're at the intersection of Sunset and Las Vegas Boulevard, actually, and this is where everyone has been told to go because it is deemed a safe area. Now, one kind of ripple effect that we wanted to talk about is just to the east here, and you can see, if we can move the camera over here, you can see right over there is McCarran Airport. You haven't seen any flights go in and out of there virtually, at least for the last half hour or more. Quite an eerie sight to see, but that's the seriousness that we've seen, kind of ripple effect coming away from the Las Vegas Strip to McCarran Airport, and we're seeing all of that police presence still very much surrounding this area. But a lot of folks out here, we see a couple of stragglers who are kind of stranded, not really know what to do or where to go at this point. But again, they're all just kind of waiting for official word to see exactly what has happened. We're going to send it back to you for right now, but we're going to chat with a few folks and see what they have to say out here.
All right, thanks so much, Nathan. We also want to check in with Antonio Castellan. He is at UMC, where a lot of people were taken. Antonio, what can you tell us? What's the scene like there? Are family members starting to show up? What's the scene?
Latoya, Metro Police come and go. We haven't seen that many family members come through here anymore because they're not allowed to go inside. So there's a lot of frustration as people arrive to try to find out how their loved ones are doing. Take a look right over there, right in front of the UMC Trauma Center. There are probably 12 Metro squad cars with their lights flashing. We've just been told that there will be no updates out here, but some of the things that we're being told by people who actually brought their concert goers here is that their friend was shot in the back and that they were bleeding as they were driving them here to UMC Hospital. Other people that we've talked to, those are the types of injuries that we're hearing about, is people who were shot in the back or in the lower leg. Others have received scrapes to their elbows and wrists. We actually saw one woman who was at the concert. She left. She said that she had minor injuries. As I've been saying, a huge perimeter has been blocked off around UMC Hospital. Police, they're not allowing anyone to get in here. If anybody comes nearby, police are questioning them with their rifles pointed at them and flashlights blaring. They want to know who's trying to get in here. This is a very delicate area. According to Metro Police, they're fearful that there could be someone dangerous. They just want to make sure that nothing bad happens out here. But it's calmed down quite a bit since the last 30 minutes when we were talking. A lot of the people have just gotten frustrated, and they're just trying to get the information through social media or through calling their loved ones through cell phone. One of the people that I was talking to, he says that he can't even get a hold of the person he brought here. So there's a lot of people in the dark. There's a lot of frustrations.
And Antonio, we see those police cruisers, and we know that many of those transported the wounded themselves. So we are told by some of the coolest heads in the business that throughout the night the casualty count will go up, the number of wounded will go up. And retired Detective Phil Ramos is here on set with us right now. And you know, aside from the very critical first priority, which is getting these people the medical help that they need, there at UMC and other hospitals around the valley, they are also going to be information gathering. There are detectives there who are going to be getting the information about what did you see, what did you hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the things that happens in situations like this is the department will call every detective in. You know, it's midnight on Sunday, but you've got a huge situation here, so every detective that's available will be coming in to assist the homicide detectives who will be heading up this investigation once it gets to that point. Additional patrol officers will have been called in because there's just such a need for officers. I mean, we see officers from Henderson, North Las Vegas, Highway Patrol. Every officer that's available will be called in to assist in some way because this is such a huge crime scene.
Phil, tell us a little bit about the Fusion Center. I know it's a multiple agency center that we have in Las Vegas, very resourceful. I would assume that it would be activated in a situation like this.
Yeah, it certainly should be. I don't have direct information that it has been, but this is exactly what it's set up for. So the command post will have been set up probably at that substation there on Las Vegas Boulevard, but then the Fusion Center will take over once the situation has been somewhat stabilized. And it seems that at this point it is stabilized to enough that the department has said there's nobody else that they suspect is being involved as far as the shooting goes. So they've made progress enough to be able to make that statement. Now it's a matter of securing the scene and interviewing as many people as possible, and you know, the grim task of going through where the bodies will be found.
And speaking of the progress that is being made, we're being told now that some activity has resumed at McCarran Airport. So if you do have a flight out or you're expecting someone to come into McCarran, you need to check the flight status, because we're told before they shut everything down. Now they're starting to let some of the activity resume. So that shows that we are making progress, as you said. This is kind of moving forward. We were in a panic before. Police were trying to figure out, okay, is this one person? Is this two people? Now we know the police believe there was just one shooter, and so they've gotten things pretty much under control. And you were saying for them to even get to that point, there has to be a lot of steps that happen before they can say definitively, yes, we believe it was one person.
Yeah, that's a high level of confidence that the department is displaying with that kind of a comment. So in essence, the danger is over as far as the active shooter goes. Now it's just a matter of tending to the injured and getting information and gathering witnesses. The better witnesses will be interviewed first, and then the witnesses who don't have as much to offer will be interviewed later on down the road. But you can count on this, the Mandalay Bay being a crime scene, at least 24 hours. Yeah.
Why don't we cue up that video again? I think we need to go back and take another look at there were two clips of video that were sent to us from witnesses there at the scene. One was from Twitter, and this one really shows the immediate response following these gunshots.
Just 12 seconds, but it seems eternal. Now another 10 seconds is going to pass of silence. And then you're going to hear, and I'll stop when we hear another 15 seconds of sustained gunfire here. hear the guy there on one of the balconies, one of the VIP areas that overlooks that concert say to his significant other, "Get down, get down, get down," and it became all too real in that moment. You know, I have been to concerts right there in that venue. It's right across from Mandalay Bay. It's where, you know, iHeartRadio happens, but we have the Las Vegas Rock and Roll Marathon coming up very soon.
Right.
And that is also the venue where the concert happens. And if you haven't been to that venue, I can tell you what I have seen. There are not a lot of entrances and exits. That's by design, Phil, so that they can keep the crowd contained and try to keep some safety there on the ground. And you know, so people are definitely sort of, for lack of a better term, they are caged in there by various apparatuses and risers and shipping containers that sort of keep them in that concert venue. So they were sitting there while that gunfire rained down, we presume from above, because that's all we have right now are witness accounts. And they didn't have a lot of places they could go, and that's why a lot of the victims and the witnesses are telling us that they just hit the ground and started to take cover.
Well, there's nothing else they could do. You know, I mean, once, you're right, there's very limited access to this venue, and once the shots start ringing out and people realize, oh man, let's get the heck out of here, there's going to be a huge rush. And I'm sure that there were some people injured in that rush of humanity coming out of that concert venue. So the best thing to do is to get down on the ground and try and take some kind of cover if there's any cover available. But you know, this is going to be very, very interesting to see who this person was. You know, to plan something like this and to be able to execute it. You know, he was a good 200 yards away from these people that were hit. So that takes a certain level of skill shooting a long gun that distance and hitting as many people as were hit. I mean, this wasn't just somebody spraying a crowd with an automatic weapon. You know, this was somebody that was deliberately aiming at certain people. For whatever reason, he was aiming at these certain people and hitting what he was shooting at.
And help me remember, the Mandalay Bay is directly across, so, and we do not know this, but we know that one person, presumably the shooter, is down, has been taken down inside a room at Mandalay Bay. Is the power of that weapon that you're hearing there, as somebody who's worked in law enforcement his whole life, is it ferocious enough that it could actually come out of a high-rise across the very wide Las Vegas Strip and into that venue and still be major?
Right, oh yeah. High-powered weapons like the AR-15s, AK-47s, they're capable of hitting a target several hundred yards away and inflicting harm. This, you know, 200 yards is nothing for a high-powered weapon like this, and that's one of the reasons they would have shut down the active runways at the airport, because that same weapon could have taken down an aircraft. One well-placed shot in an engine or in the cockpit of an aircraft, that would have certainly penetrated. A high-powered rifle could have done that.
Can you tell anything from the vantage point of that video? It seemed like people were kind of all running toward the same direction. Knowing that venue, is that just because that was the nearest exit that they saw, or could they perceive that maybe that danger was behind them?
It would be hard to be able to perceive where the danger was coming from, given the conditions. It was at night, and you know, there was a lot of noise from the concert itself, and then you hear the gunshots. So it's going to be hard for people to realize where the heck are those gunshots coming from. Their natural instinct is going to be just to run and get away from where they're at, especially if you see people next to you dropping down and are being injured. So they're going to head for those exits where they know the exits are.
This is likely very premature, but you know, do you think that we can learn something from this situation going forward to maybe make sure that this doesn't happen again? Because as Reed mentioned, the Rock and Roll Half Marathon is coming up in a month.
Well, that's really hard to answer that, because you have to try and figure out how this happened in the first place. I mean, we know that there was a deranged person shooting a high-powered rifle into a crowd of people, and from where he was, you know, how do you check every single person that checks into a major resort like that? You know, this is something that you have to be ready for, but it's just so difficult to enact any kind of policies or laws that would allow you to stop something like this happening, because then you're infringing on people's freedoms.
But no doubt these discussions are going to take place in the coming days and coming weeks. As they do, whenever an incident like this happens, people go back and observe and look at security protocols and what could be done. Maybe there are things that could have been done to prevent this. That discussion will no doubt take place. Nathan O'Neill, I believe, is back with us. He has been reporting live from the south end of the Strip all evening. It looks like things have calmed down certainly from about an hour ago. Nathan, bring us up to speed from your vantage point there.
Right, well, we're in the area where a lot of folks, thousands of folks, were told to come down here to get away from this strip. This is where police were kind of pushing people along to make sure that they were in a safe area. A lot of people kind of unsure what to do at this point because they are visiting from out of state, out of country, and nowhere to go, and kind of wondering exactly what's going to happen. I want to bring in Rachel and Joe, though. You guys are from Canada. You were inside that music venue when the shots rang out. Describe for us what happened. How did this play out for you?
Well, at first we're just watching Jason Aldean perform, and then I was sitting. Well, we were all together, but we heard like a loud like pop, almost like glass breaking. And I looked at my sister, and I was kind of like, "That's weird, right?" And we looked at the girl behind us, and we're all kind of like, "What was that noise?" And then we just heard like this pop, 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 which I mean sounded like gunshots, but that's not what you expect, right? And my husband was just like, "Someone just let off like a firecracker here? Like what's going on?" And then we heard it again. And everyone just like went down, and I think we heard it again, and everybody really went down. And then they took the band off the stage right away, and then the floodlights kind of came on us, and then there was no shooting, so people kind of got up, and then there was somebody injured right on the right-hand side of the stage, and so people were like calling for help for them, and then the shots came again, and everybody got down. We didn't get up again until, I don't know, it seemed like a long time. There was like just shots, like just constant like pop, 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 like just going on and on. There'd be a little pause and they'd start again. And then I feel like maybe security told us to go, to run or something, like to leave. And everyone was like super though, like calm and just tucked, and like even though you didn't feel safe, you felt safe. And then we got up and we started going to the left, and even though people were like panicking, it was still really like controlled, like everyone was still keeping their wits about them. And we are able to, there's lots of people, we're kind of just all kind of pushing through to get out.
Was it a rush? I mean, were people running?
Like a controlled rush.
We took the easier way out because we went east towards Hooters, so we didn't have to go far, and we could recognize right away if we were going towards the main exit, there was going to be a stampede. So we went east, got out by Hooters, and then a whole bunch of group of people just started all walking this way.
There was a huge, there's a huge parking lot.
We need to go ahead and break away from
Nathan
at this point because the
Metro
Police Conference is just about to get underway. We want to break away from Nathan. We'll go back because Metro is now speaking the first press conference since the incident.
So we understand they're just doing mic checks right now, but at any moment we anticipate we will have an update from Metro, and we'll ask our producers to tell us when to cut back to this. You know, one thing that came out of that is the gentleman just now said it became very clear to us that if we ran out of the exits, we would be hit. Right. We're being told, we're watching on another monitor this Metro news conference right now. It's just, as you can imagine, Phil, it's a pretty confusing scene down here. Yeah. You know, police don't come in front of the mic to give an update unless they have something pretty solid, right?
Yeah, and you know, a lot of this is just going to be the basic information. What kind of 911 calls came in? At what time did they come in? What did the first responding officers encounter? And you know, this will probably be the time when they confirm that an individual has been neutralized, whether he was committed suicide, whether he was shot by the teams that went into the door. However that occurred, it'll just be very basic information just to kind of answer the questions that most people are asking. What the heck happened and why?
What we're not going to hear is motive and who was this person.
Right,
and,
no, we won't hear that for a while.
Yeah, those kinds of things are not going to be revealed probably for days until this investigation is wrapped up.
Speaking to what we're likely to hear in the coming days, at what point, and again, everything is so new right now, but at what point does this get a name? At what point do we say the term domestic terrorism? At what point does it get the name of international terrorism? At what point and what criteria has to be met before this gets a name and a classification?
Well, they've got to be able to document the information that they're gaining from the room registration information, the information on the weapons, who this person was. So once the intelligence comes in on exactly who this person was, where he was from, any associates he has, and they'll be able to make generalized statements about his background. And, you know, if it gets to the point where there's some history, if there's some kind of domestic terrorism note to it, then they've got to be really darn sure that they've got that documented before they release that. And a lot of this is going to determine on who this shooter was. Once they're able to identify who he is and talk to his family or his friends, all of that information is going to come forward, and you know, it's going to be very, very revealing.
And I imagine as we are tonight, we keep learning from more witnesses what it was like down there. Police are still going to be talking to, I would imagine, dozens.
Oh, yeah.
Dozens of people, if not more. You know, every time we play that video, you just keep thinking, you know, those are somebody down there. This is a situation where these are real people in an extraordinary situation. How effective or how reliable will those eyewitness accounts be? Because a lot of people could have been caught off guard. Yeah. They're not professionals. Right. They're not trained.
Well, what happens a lot of times in situations like this, and we've seen it on these interviews, is people don't put the connection between the loud sound that they hear and a gunshot. They'll think it was a firecracker or glass breaking or, you know, a car screeching or something like that. Those kinds of situations don't occur to people at a concert, that we're under attack. So the people who were shot in the crowd at the concert are not going to be able to give very valuable information because they were so far away from where the shooting was. The people that are going to give the valuable information are those who were inside the hotel, who may have seen the shooter, who may have been in the room next to him, above him, or below him, and heard the gunshots. The other thing that we also probably should pay attention to is this guy had enough knowledge of the situation to get a room that faced this area. You know, how many times do you get to pick a room where you want a certain view? Hey, I want a view of the Strip, or I want a view of the lake, or I want a view of the mountains.
Or the concert venue.
Or the concert venue, yeah. So, and then how he got the window open, you know, at the higher the floor.
Right, a lot of them don't open.
Right.
A lot of them don't open, right.
So
unless they're blown open.
So he may have shot the window out, he may have broke that out, but he had enough sense to get that window out and start shooting within a relatively short period of time.
You know, another situation, another hot spot, as it were, that we need to go back to and let you know we still haven't had any updates on it, is that report that a bomb squad in the counterterrorism task force is down there in front of the Luxor, which is just a stone's throw away from the Mandalay Bay, because of an SUV with a suspicious device in it. One of our reporters, Craig Figner, said about 40 minutes ago that he asked a law enforcement officer what they thought of it, and the law enforcement officer said it doesn't look good. We just want to let our viewers know we are monitoring that situation as well. If you haven't heard a lot about it, that's because we haven't been getting an update right now about that from our crews on the ground or from Metro Police. And as you're seeing on the left side of our screen, we are awaiting a news conference from Metro. So they're right there in front of the microphone, and they're just doing mic checks, and they're doing what they need to do so that we can get this information out to the public. But that is yet another scene in the midst of all this chaos, Phil, where hundreds of people are running out of that concert venue. They're running wounded, running over bodies, people who were mortally wounded, people being taken away, CPR performed in the back of the trucks, and all of that confusion right now. And it looks like Latoya and Gerard are getting...
Right, we just found out that Craig Figner, speaking of him, he just tweeted that one suspect from Mesquite, possibly from the Mesquite area, and also being told that vehicles from Homeland Security have arrived at the Luxor. So that coming down just now through Twitter, Craig Figner, who is, of course, there at that scene. So hopefully we'll be learning more about that. And who knows, maybe Metro can fill us in on that at this first news conference that they're about to do. When you hear that, that Homeland Security is showing up, what does that signify to
Well,
you?
they're just covering all their bases right now. You know, there's a huge task force in place for situations just like this, so they clearly would have responded. And when Homeland comes in, they're bringing the auspices of the FBI, everybody that's involved in Homeland Security. So that their response to this is perfectly in line with the situation that happened. You know, as far as this vehicle goes, this SUV with a possible device in it, that's you know, that's some very critical information that has to be addressed, and that could be why they're still pushing people away farther and farther away from the scene. because they don't know what's in that vehicle, and if it is a device that's capable of an explosion, then they need to get everybody as far away as possible.
And talk about a massive undertaking. All the people, the millions of people
Oh,
that flock to the Strip and that stay on the Strip, that's going to take a while, I would imagine.
Think about all the people who will need to be interviewed following this. All witnesses there at the concert, people inside Mandalay Bay, people who maybe saw anything suspicious. And you want to hear from those folks. I mean, this is important information that needs to be gathered in a timely manner.
Yeah, and they're going to break down into groups, the people and their level of what they saw. I mean, the value of their information. You know, the most important witnesses that saw some critical information down to those who just heard gunshots and started running. You know, there's not a lot of information that those people can give, but the ones who have valuable information, they'll sit down and speak with them at length.
The ones who heard specific information, or like that young lady that we spoke to who said there was a threat given, you know, prior to the concert. That's pretty significant,
that's really,
and it could lead to something.
Very much so, very much so. I hope that information gets passed on to the investigators so that they can follow up on that.
Go to Facebook and type in Las Vegas. You'll see that crisis response page that the people at Facebook have placed up. And Facebook and law enforcement are asking that if you are able to do that and you are able to get this message, to check in that you're safe, to let your family and friends know you're okay. The voices on social media are starting to come up. It's trending all over the world right now. Pray for Vegas, pray for Las Vegas. Clark County, Nevada, tweeting out, keep us in your thoughts. It's a very difficult and tragic evening for a lot of people. Our very gregarious and champion of the Las Vegas image, Mayor Carolyn Goodman, pray for Las Vegas. Thank you to all of our first responders out there right now. And then, of course, many, many members of our congressional delegations to Washington, D.C., wherever they are tonight, tweeting out messages like, thank you to all of our first responders, Las Vegas shooting, pray for Las Vegas. So tonight, people from all over the world are watching Las Vegas, and they're watching our law enforcement rush in when people are rushing out. Yep. And we have our thoughts and our prayers with the people on the ground, with the emergency responders, with the people in emergency rooms right now who've been called in from away from their families to respond to the trauma centers that are throughout this valley that are full now,
Additionally, people have been posting that they would like to help out if possible, that they are offering their homes, they're offering their cars if needed. Initially, there didn't seem to be enough of the resources and people weren't sure what was happening, but there are a lot of people stepping forward, and I would say to them that you're going to be contacted. We're aware that people are volunteering their resources, and authorities will be contacting you if there is a need.
Yeah, and you know, tragedies inherently bring out the best in the people who survive these tragedies.
Absolutely.
You know? And it just kind of reinforces your belief in mankind that people are willing to do this. You know, we live in such an ugly world right now that when something like this horrible happens, that there's people that are willing to come in and help, you know, like the natural disasters we've seen in the last few weeks.
The famous saying, when tragedy happens, look for the helpers, and we are seeing thousands of helpers with their focus on the Las Vegas Strip tonight.
Let's check in with Christy Wilcox, who again has been pushed back further and further away from where this all happened, but she's talking to another person who was there on the scene, and as you can see, people hugging each other. Such a horrible, horrific night. A lot of people probably thinking it's a nightmare that they just cannot wake up from.
Yeah, LaToya, actually, I was talking to this gentleman here. His name is Jeff, and he got separated. His wife was up on the 24th floor. They were all, the kids were at the concert. He was at the concert, but they had left right before the shooting. And he came out here to the Welcome to Las Vegas sign. Of course, I've never, ever seen anything like this because there's not a single soul out here. And he came walking up the center median here, just worried because his cell phone had gone dead, and he was waiting to join with his wife and his kids. So we actually text his wife and had some communication going, and she told us, hey, the kids are heading this direction. So that is the big hug that you saw right there. And then on the other side of us, we see police coming back up Las Vegas Boulevard, and they have been loading up these buses here, taking the people from the buses down to town center just to, you know, keep this people moving and keeping the scene as safe as we're moving along. And I'm trying to see here if maybe Jeff will talk to us. Hey Jeff, how are you feeling over there? It looks like you're
Doing pretty good.
All right, so he says that they're doing pretty good. You're happy to see your dad?
Yeah.
Come on over here. Come on over here. So you're what?
My mother just called me ballin', just so happy that she's seeing us from wherever the hotel she's at. I don't know.
So she is still up on the 24th floor?
Yeah, yeah.
And how did you make your way out here?
We ran. We ran for a long time, yeah. We just kept running.
And you have tears over here, tears of joy to see your father, I would imagine.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. It was just really intense inside the hotel, inside the concert.
Now, did you leave prior to what happened, or you were still in the venue?
We were definitely still in the venue. We actually didn't even know what was happening at first. It didn't even sound real to us. And then all of a sudden everyone was on the ground, screaming, crying. Fences were flipped. Doors were open. There was no VIP section anywhere anymore. Like, we just ran in a building and just hid, pretty much.
So you're refreshed to see your father here and happy that your mother is inside her room safe. She's been texting me saying thank you so much, seeing that my family is back together. And I know your father here is relieved because he had a cell phone that was dead. And I know that many people out here are just wondering what is happening to, their loved ones, where they're at, because so many people got separated during this scene. So that's what's going on out here, South Las Vegas Boulevard. And like I said, over on this side, just more people getting transported down to the town center area. For now, I'll send it back to you.
So, Christy, it looks like RTC buses are being brought in to move people away from the Las Vegas Strip. That's a good sign. It's also good to see the beginnings of some reunions there, some people embracing. We also want to let you know that while we rejoice in that and we see the reunions starting to take place, we're also mindful of several people who've tweeted us and messaged us saying, I'm watching from home or my hotel room right now, and I am still separated from the person that I came with tonight and then ran away from in the crowd. And so our thoughts are with you if you're watching, and we want to commit to you that we will stay on air throughout the night here at News 3. We are working with our media partners, we're working with witnesses on the ground, we're working with police, and we will get you the information as soon as we can get it to you. Every bit of information that we can get to you, knowing that you're scared, knowing that you are separated from your family members, we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here for you, and we've got retired Metro Detective Phil Ramos here on scene, and that's a good sign to see that they're moving people in an orderly fashion away from the Las Vegas Strip, Phil.
Yeah, and it it's indicative of a little bit of calm taking place now that the traumatic event is over. People are being shuttled out safely. Now it's a matter of matching up the people with who they came with, where their vehicles are. Do you have any information? Everybody's going to be spoken to at wherever they're being taken to. And the investigation is starting now. The dynamic situation is over as far as we can tell. And now it's a matter of following up on all the information that you've been able to gather up to this point.
And we mentioned earlier how people want to help, and we just got word that Las Vegas Blood Bank desperately needs donations. So that is certainly one way that you can help. Giving blood, you could possibly save 3 lives. And so in this situation, a lot of people, when you hear of these horrific wounds that these people probably got from this type of a weapon, people probably lost lots and lots of blood. In fact, we heard from our own production assistant, Shella, saying how so many people around her were just bloody, and she knew that if she stayed in place, she dropped down at first, but she knew if she stayed in place that she would be next. And so a lot of loss of blood. There has been some loss of life from what we're getting from hospitals. So if you would like to help out, Las Vegas Blood Bank desperately needing donations tonight.
All of that information, of course, will be placed on our website. Head to news3lv.com for more information and updates on what has occurred and what has taken place throughout the night. We are News 3. We've been broadcasting live since about 10:30 when all of this happened. And currently we are on standby. We have crews in several areas of the Las Vegas Strip tonight, including one where there is a press briefing that Metro will be offering, we're told, any minute now. And that's when we will get our first official accounting of what has happened here today and possibly some numbers and other information as to how all of this materialized.
When we started this coverage, within the last hour, maybe even 2 hours, we mentioned that we had a police source said that an officer had been shot in the neck. This now officially confirms. Southern California police saying that one of their off-duty officers was shot during the Las Vegas concert attack. So it goes without saying that this is going to be felt all over the United States, but we think about law enforcement in Southern California and beyond who now know that they have a wounded or dead police officer here in the Las Vegas Valley. We're also want to let you know that we are receiving your tweets, we are getting your questions. We're hearing from several of our Twitter followers, one saying, we are on lockdown at ballets and Paris. Everyone started running. Do you have any information? So we are getting your questions. We'll try to answer those the best we can. We understand that all strip hotels are on lockdown, and not only people locked down in their rooms, but if they are, in a restaurant, they're being held in a restaurant. Let's watch right now. It looks like the Metro news conference is about to start.
Leave your vehicles on the street, and then we'll actually jump over.
All right, so they're sort of giving a lay of the land what the media is to expect in the coming moments.
But certainly a situation when you talk about the fact that they need all of this blood. We talked about, how right now we're being told only 2 have been confirmed dead and 24 injured, 12 critical after this shooting. This number, sadly, likely to go up.
And I'm also hearing from a trauma surgeon who works at Sunrise Hospital who's been paged in saying they can't even get into Sunrise Hospital because traffic is just at a standstill in a melee. So if you know somebody out there who's on the roads, tell them to do everything they can to be a good neighbor, to pull over, to keep a calm, cool head, and be a helper. Because right now I'm hearing from somebody whose sister is a trauma surgeon at Sunrise, has been paged into trauma surgery, can't get there because of the traffic situation. So if you know somebody who is out there on the roads, just tell them, be a good neighbor, be a helper, because there are people like this trauma surgeon who can't get in and need to get in. We're going to go to some video right now. I'm hearing from our producer. Ryan, this is the video from social media.
Okay, different video of the shooting as it happened.
Okay, let's take a listen.
You're okay, you're okay.
What are they doing?
They're filming.
Stay the f*** down! Stay down! Stay down! Stay the f*** down!
Stay down.
Here's yet another video shot on my cell phone, obviously.
Phil, I don't know what's more disturbing, hearing the gunfire or the people screaming in the crowd.
Yeah, traumatic situations like this, there's just no way to gauge a person's response and what's going to happen, when something like this occurs. Even the first responders, it's hard on them trying to get to where the bad guy is, and at the same time trying to protect the people that are falling down right next to you. You're torn between making sure they're okay and trying to stop the guy that's causing all this carnage.
Phil, I mentioned a little bit earlier that in some ways we're actually very fortunate. We have a level 1 trauma center, moments away from the Strip. Yeah. We have a fire station on the Strip. We have metro units, and you would probably be able to talk a little bit more about this, but they are positioned in several spots along the Strip. The Fusion Center itself is not far from the Strip. So in terms of response and capability, we're positioned pretty well.
Yeah, we're right up there with with the big major cities, with the New Yorks and the LAs, the Chicagos, of having a major police presence in areas where you pray to God something like this never happens, but now that it has, we've got the people there to be able to respond immediately to it. And that makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think what we should do for our viewers who are just now joining us is fill in the blanks and go back to the halfway through the 10 o'clock hour tonight and recap what has happened a music festival across from Mandalay Bay, which is at the south end of the Las Vegas Strip. Across the street is a concert venue. It's an outdoor open-air venue, and two very sustained, very long, what seemed like an eternity blast from what, Phil, you say seems like an automatic weapon. We're hearing unconfirmed reports that it came from a window high above the crowd, presumably at that property, Mandalay Bay. After that, people went running out into the streets, running wounded, people falling where they are. We're told that the death toll could go up throughout the night. And so now, over the last couple of hours, it's been about securing the scene, getting the wounded to the hospitals, and that's the best we have right now.
Right, and so police were able to take down the one person they believe is responsible for this, and Craig Figner reporting tonight that he has credible sources that say that they believe that this one suspect is actually from Mesquite. So this is someone that is from Nevada here, according to his sources. As you mentioned, Phil, investigators are going to be doing a lot of digging. Yeah. They're going to want to know who was the last person to talk to this person.
Right.
Why were they here? Mm-hmm. What were they saying leading up to this event? A lot of questions they're going to be asking.
Everything you can think of is what they'll be asking. If they were able to confirm that he is from Mesquite, you can bet that there's officers at his home right now executing a search warrant, getting into the house, talking to the neighbors, talking to family to find out what was this guy all about. You know, what happened? You know, what kind of frame of mind was he in today? Was he here in Vegas for the concert? Was he here just, you know, to hang out in Las Vegas? I mean, Mesquite, it's only an hour away from Las Vegas. It doesn't take long to get here. And the fact that he's from Mesquite is kind of curious in my mind. You know, it's a small little...
Why do you say that?
Well, it's a small little community, you know, a lot of farms up there, a lot of, it's all very rural life up there. For somebody to have the kind of mindset that this person would have had to have, and to be in a small town like Mesquite, that's, you know, there's something there. There's something going on there.
It would also imply that he would have some level of familiarity with Las Vegas itself. He's probably been to Mandalay Bay a number of times.
Sure.
You think about the possibilities that could possibly rule out some type of international influence there.
Right. That was another train of thought that I had. And in addition to that, you know, living out there in Mesquite where it's wide open, you know, high-powered firearms are a way of life over there. You can go out in your backyard and target practice.
Right, so they not alert people like it would if it was somewhere else.
Right.
Let's speak just to your own police experience. How many years you served on the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department?
33.
33 years. Okay, so let's sort of broadcast ourselves up into that Mandalay Bay Tower. Let's say somebody on the ground counted the floors and said, I see gunfire coming out, say from the, let's just pick a number, from the 12th floor. Mm-hmm. They would immediately do what? They would go up the stairwell, up the escalator, blow open the door, kick open the door. Tell us what the training is.
Well, first they would have tried to determine how accurate and how good that information is. You know, if there was one guy said, I saw a guy shooting out of that window right there, then once they've got that located to the floor, then they'll evacuate that floor and isolate the room where they believe would have occurred. Mm-hmm. So, and then SWAT will take over from there and make one of their dynamic entries and determine if in fact it was the guy. In this case it was. So the evacuation of the hotel would have started immediately, but once good information developed that there was a specific location, then they would have focused on that location first and then continued the evacuation and the searching of the other floors above it and below it and immediately next to it.
When you talk about the undertaking of evacuating a hotel, this was an MGM Resorts International property. They have a protocol that has existed and probably been modified through the years, so I'm sure that protocol was followed here tonight. It is a major undertaking. You're talking about thousands of guests in a single facility.
And not to mention the casino floor. You know, I mean, Vegas is unique. You've got thousands of rooms, but you've also got a huge main floor where there's thousands, money, you know, casino cages, and people sitting there till all hours of the morning playing cash on these machines and tables. It's very unique. You know, it's a very unique situation that we have here in Las Vegas when we have something like this occur. Not only are we dealing with a big high-rise hotel, but we're dealing with just as many people on the main level of the hotel.
And we are hearing, we use the term evacuation, but what we're hearing is that people are told to shelter in place.
Right.
So if they're in a venue, they're locked down in a venue. If they're in a restaurant, they're locked down. If they're in their room, they're locked down. I think that the thought was all up and down the Strip, and I'm hearing as far down as the north end of the Strip, people told, stay where you are. You're in complete lockdown. You're not moving.
Yeah, and eventually as things start to calm down, those restrictions will be released and the people will be able to live their lives normally on the north end of the Strip, far away from where this happened. Right now, all the properties are just erring on the side of caution and keeping everybody locked up, so that just on that 1% chance that there's still more to it, they don't put themselves or their guests in a situation that they could have avoided because this hasn't come to a closure yet.
When we talk about the vantage point from where those shots were fired, we have heard from a couple of people, and I don't have this confirmed, but we've heard that those rooms at Mandalay Bay don't have a balcony, and I believe that to be true,
Mm-hmm.
and the windows aren't windows that you could open. So
Right.
it would have had to been broken or perhaps shot out
Yeah.
for him to be able to have that type of access.
Yeah, and he's got to know that there's going to be people below him and next to him, above him, that are going to hear the gunshots. So this person has to realize, I'm going to be found out because I'm sitting here shooting this high-powered weapon out of the window into the crowd, and people are going to eventually figure out where the shots are coming from and that I'm in this room firing those shots. So, the way that transpired remains to be seen, but I'm sure that as this investigation goes on, we're going to get the answers to many, many, many questions that we have right now.
Social media is being very helpful to show us what's going on the ground. I just retweeted, if you go to @ReadNews3LV and certainly @News3LV, we're going to start retweeting what we're seeing on social media right now, but I just retweeted images inside the Tropicana, where people are on lockdown right now, and you can see everybody. I see people crouched in a stairwell. So they use those stairwells because they're thick concrete, and there are people in these images that I just retweeted of people who are sheltering in place inside of the casino. I just retweeted that.
Well, not only that, but in situations like this, when a hotel goes into lockdown, they shut down the elevators. Elevators aren't available for people to use, so they have to get
use
into
the stairwells.
Yeah.
And that can create some chaos as
it
well.
certainly can.
Part of the challenge for police is to keep everybody calm. And when you look at that crowd that's running away from the stage area there, that is certainly a major challenge.
Yeah. Especially when you've got officers having to go up into the floors.
Okay, it looks like they're at the podium now. Looks like they're still trying to make sure everything is okay.
And that's the
ready to
sheriff
go.
himself,
Sheriff Lombardo.
Exactly.
getting ready to address this situation. Let's listen in.
All right, can you hear me okay? Well, good evening. Obviously, I'm Sheriff Joe Lombardo from Clark County, and I'm here to talk to you about the tragic event that's taken place and is currently taking place at the Mandalay Bay out on the Las Vegas Boulevard South. We experienced an active shooter situation approximately 10:08 p.m. tonight, this evening. We had calls come into dispatch of multiple shots being fired from the direction of the Mandalay Bay towards the Route 91 concert that was taking place on the east side of Las Vegas Boulevard. Through investigation and response, we determined there was a shooter on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay. Officers responded to that location and engaged the suspect at that location. He is dead currently. He has been identified. He is a local resident. I will not release his name at this time, but we are interested in a companion that is traveling with him, and her name is, and I will provide you the name, so please be accurate on this, is Mary Lou Danley, M-A-R-I-L-O-U, last name spelled D-A-N-L-E-Y. She is a Asian female, approximately 4'11", 4'11", weight of 111 pounds. We have not located her at this time, and we are interested in talking to her for follow-up. 2 vehicles we're interested in locating, and we need your assistance with that. We have a Hyundai Tucson with Nevada plate 114
Baker 40, B40, and a Chrysler Pacifica Touring, Nevada plate 19D401. These are the plates registered to the suspect that we located at the Mandalay Bay. So there's a couple of things that need to occur at this time. One is the Red Cross is responding to the headquarters here at the police department at 400 South Martin Luther King to receive any phone calls from family members who are trying to locate their family that attended the concert and aren't unable to contact them. So that number will be established here shortly, and we'll get it out to you to publicize it here shortly. Additionally, anybody that may have cell phone video or any type of video associated with this event that would be a benefit to the investigation, please respond to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department headquarters at 400 South Martin Luther King, and we will take custody of that video. So if you have it, you evaluate it, and you think it would be a benefit, please bring that down to the headquarters. So family members, if you are unable to call or you do not want to wait for a call and you want to respond in person, we have set up a family retreat area for you to respond so we can help you locate your loved ones here at the headquarters. So you will be contacted by a police officer here at the headquarters, and they will direct you to where you need to go. Standing with me is Special Agent in charge of the FBI, Aaron Rouse. He is assisting with the investigation, which is ongoing. And then we have Fire Chief Greg Castle from Clark County Fire, and they are assisting with all the victims. Now, as far as number of victims, I cannot give you an accurate number at this point. We have well in the excess of 100 plus injured and excess of 20 plus that have died at this point. So we will get those numbers to you accurately as soon as we can. But please bear with us. This is an ongoing investigation, but we are comfortable that the primary aggressor in this event has expired or passed away and is no longer a threat. There's been multiple phone calls and accusations or conjecture coming through social media that there's multiple shooters at other resorts. That has been proven to be false. Additionally, there's been accusations or beliefs there's some explosives going off. That is also false. The only explosive contained in this event was from our SWAT team breaching the room. So please, we are pretty confident that there is no longer a threat other than we are attempting to locate the person of interest. No, not at this point. We believe it's a local individual. He resides here locally. I'm not at liberty to give you his place of residence yet because it's an ongoing investigation. We don't know what his belief system was at this time. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. No, we have no idea at this point. It's an ongoing investigation. As you can imagine, it just happened. So please bear with us, but we have all the forces to bear from public safety handling the situation.
And you believe he acted alone?
Okay, I'm going to say this one more time. We do not know. It's an ongoing investigation. Right now, we believe he is the sole aggressor at this point, and the scene is static. We are attempting to locate the person of interest. I have two police officers that are currently at the hospital, one in critical condition, the other one minor injuries. But there are other police officers that were off duty attending the concert that have expired. We don't have those individuals identified at this point. I don't know the sequence of events on that. Right now, we believe it's 100 plus injured and 20 plus dead. Okay, and I don't want to give you an accurate number because I do not have it at this point.
Right now, there are still people on lockdown, on the strip. What do you say to people who are afraid right now, or what should they do?
I still want them to shelter in place. They will be contacted by first responders, and they'll advise them when they're free to go. It's better to shelter in place than to be unaware. I'm sorry, ma'am. We believe there's a couple off-duty officers that were attending the concert that may have died. We don't have them identified yet. All I know at this point is they are roommates. I can't give you that now. Yes, we believe so. Yes, absolutely. We're looking for a Hyundai Tucson, unknown color, Nevada plate 114B40. Additionally, we're looking for a Chrysler Pacifica Touring, unknown color, Nevada plate 19D401. Well, it is. It's devastating time, and it's unfortunate. And, you know, we have been talking about active shooters in the past, and it's unfortunate it did occur here. But we have responded to the scene, and we're doing the best we can to provide safety for the survivors. And right now, we believe it's a sole actor, a lone wolf type actor, and we have the place under control. No, I cannot. All right, thank you very much. We'll do regular briefings, and we'll advise you of the schedule as they come forward. Thank you.
All right, we've been listening live to Sheriff Lombardo, who came out to address the incident that we've been covering all evening. Very difficult to hear some of the actual facts here. Perhaps the most difficult part was the number of people who were affected by this directly, the 100+ injured, to quote the sheriff, and the more than 20 who have been deceased, including possibly some officers who were there off duty. Just unfathomable to think about this. From my observation, I think he handled this as best he could. He was very forthcoming with information that he had as facts, and he also held back on a lot of the speculation. Very difficult situation because there's a lot of questions that are out there, but he handled the information that we know to be fact.
Right, and you could see, even as composed as he was, you could see the weight of all of this on him. Our mouths dropped, and we all collectively sighed when we heard those numbers, 100+ injured, 20 dead. And then he gave us this very substantial information that they have a person of interest, Mary Lou Danley. He says she's an Asian woman, about 4'11". They believe that she was a roommate of this suspect. They're not releasing any information about that person, but they did tell us that, of course, he, as we've been reporting all night, they were able to tell us that he was taken down. He is no longer with us. That suspect is dead. Now, we don't know how that happened, but they believe that he was on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay. And so that kind of goes along with what you were saying, Phil, about that vantage point that person had and how they really put the people down on the ground at a disadvantage. They're looking for two vehicles of interest. One of them is a Hyundai Tucson with Nevada plates. Another is a Chrysler Touareg. We have those license plate numbers right there. But what to say of the fact that he's saying, yes, this person is a local person, Phil?
Well, that's kind of interesting. I think what the most important bit of information that he didn't allude to was the terrorism aspect to it. So I think we can kind of put that to rest as far as that worry. Be that as it may, there's still at least 20 people dead in this horrible, horrible situation. So that was a very controlled response by the sheriff. You could see the frustration on his face, and it's just got to be a terrible thing for him to have to do, is get up and give this little bit of information when everybody's just dying for more and more and more. Tell us more. Who is this guy? What happened? Why did he do this? Well, none of that's going to be made available until they know.
And, you know, we're just now seeing on social media, Jason Aldean, it was his concert. He was on stage. He's the one who posted this just now, Pray for Las Vegas, a meme that is being shared and going viral all over the world as we get this information about this Mary Lou Danley, person of interest. The reason why Sheriff Lombardo says she's a person of interest is because her Players Club card was found in that room. No doubt also, Phil, they're looking at surveillance video of her coming and going from that room. And then what a riveting account from the sheriff about how they made entry into that room. You know, he was putting to rest some of the social media reports about explosions on the Strip. He said the only explosion is when we blew open that door on the 32nd floor and took down this guy.
Yeah, and you know, that just speaks to a dynamic entry by SWAT. You know, they went in there to put an end to this, whether the man was still alive and capable of inflicting more harm, or whether he was already incapacitated. You know, that will come out in the next few days, but be that as it may, they went in there with a specific job in mind, and they had to do that. I mean, you have 20 people dead, over 100 injured. It's horrible. I can't think of any situation in Vegas. I was born and raised here. I can't think of anything that even comes close to this.
Catastrophic.
Yeah.
It was comforting that he came out and said, essentially, we have this thing handled.
Right.
There are areas where we don't have all the answers yet. We are still looking for some people, from one person in particular, but the situation, we have it under control. And he reiterated that a couple of times, so try to make people have that reassurance.
Yeah, and now it's a matter of, you know, getting loved ones connected with their loved ones that are missing or unaccounted for, or just unable to reach out to them because for whatever reason, maybe their cell phone's dead or something is keeping them from getting a hold of each other. But there's still at least 20 sets of family members that are going to get a horrible phone call and visit tonight.
And then more than 100 others that are just in the waiting game, hoping, wishing, and praying right now. Why do you think that he still asks people to shelter in place?
Well, because they need to get everything concluded to the point where they're 100% certain that all the evidence has been collected, that this Mary Lou person is not amongst the people that are sheltering in place. It's just a safety precaution because they don't need a bunch of people flooding the strip now. They don't need them coming out of the hotels wherever they're at and running down to this crime scene and trying to see, the looky-loos that want to go and see a horrible thing like
and
this.
I couldn't help, I don't know if you guys did it too, but when he said that there was a female companion, and he mentioned this Mary Lou Danley, I immediately thought of that one witness that Christy talked to, Christy Wilcox had on the scene. Of course, she said there was 2 Hispanic people, but you could probably confuse people if you see them for just, a couple of minutes or so. I would imagine police would want to talk to her ASAP.
Oh my goodness, they're going to try and track her down. That's going to be a priority. However they got the information as to who she was, they're going to follow up on that and figure out exactly. I would imagine that she's going to be spoken to within the next few hours. I mean, they're not going to stop till they latch onto her and find out what do you know about this. I mean, it could be that maybe she was the woman that they were referring to, that the one witness was referring to, and said we're all going to die tonight. And if she knew that, why didn't she say something?
Yeah.
And to update our viewers who may be just joining us, that was an account from a witness on the ground who actually saw that. A woman who very hauntingly, her description sounded a lot like this Mary Lou Danley. We don't know that it was her, but she said that there was some sort of a problem in the front of the crowd. She was giving another woman some problem, and she was removed by security saying, "You are all going to die tonight." That was about 45 minutes before the concert started.
And I'm sure that they're going to develop a picture of her and plaster that picture all over the place until they get some kind of idea of where she's at. Hopefully she's alive and well and able to speak to somebody, but you never know.
Yeah. So Jason Aldean was the performer who was performing. He was in the middle of his finale there at the Route 91 Harvest Festival, the outdoor venue taking place across from Mandalay Bay. We showed you his post, and there it is on the screen, Pray for Las Vegas. I'll go ahead and read his message because I don't think you can read it from the screen there. His quote is, "Tonight has been beyond horrific. I still don't know what to say, but wanted to let everyone know that me and my crew are safe. My thoughts and prayers go out to everyone involved tonight. It hurts my heart that this would happen to anyone who was just coming out to enjoy what should have been a fun night." And then he goes on to say, heartbroken, and hashtag stop the violence, stop the hate.
Wow.
So we're understanding that the death toll, we are being told right now, could go up throughout the night and very likely will go up throughout the night. We're also understanding that trauma surgeons are being paged in, that UMC, and if you're not familiar with the hospital layout here in this valley, UMC is a world-class trauma center. It is the place to take trauma victims. At one point they had to say, we're at capacity, start sending people over to Sunrise Hospital. So when we hear more than 100 people injured, more than 20 dead, police don't give those numbers lightly. They have a pretty sure knowledge. When they look down on the ground, they see the bodies on the ground. There's at least 20 people here.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, when you're talking about a high-powered weapon like that, you know, officers are trained to recognize the types of injuries that victims have, and a lot of times all you have to do is glance and you know that this person is beyond help.
And, you know, this news is going out far and wide. Investigators are asking for anybody with cell phone video of the shooting to get it to authorities as quickly as possible. So please get that video to authorities. Also, word is going out, shelter in place if you are down on the Strip. If you're in your room, it looks like the active shooter situation is over, but police are saying stay where you are. Do what we say. If you know somebody and you're texting and they're in a stairwell, stay in the stairwell. If you're in a restaurant, stay there.
And looking for this Mary Lou Danley. If we could go ahead and put up the two cars of interest that they have in this case, just so people can be on the lookout for this, because that is probably one of the biggest priorities right now, is trying to find this woman and figure out what she knew and how soon she knew it. A Chrysler Pacifica, both Nevada plates at Hyundai Tucson. Definitely be on the lookout for those two cars, and hopefully we can get a picture of Mary Lou Danley. But we're told right now she's an Asian woman about 5'11", and she was roommates with the suspect, who is dead. Police say that they were able to engage him, and he is no longer with us. But they're being very tight-lipped about his identity. Why would they tell us so much about her and stay tight-lipped about him?
And really quickly, I hate to cut you off, our producer's saying Christy Wilcox is down on the ground and has some information and update in an interview. Christy?
Yeah, Reed, so I am sitting out here. I think you just saw this family hug as they rejoined each other. They were separated because both Paisley and Charlie were inside the concert at the time of the shooting. They were separated because their father here, Jeff, is behind me. You were downstairs. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was near the shark reef, whatever that is. Yeah.
And then their mother, Jennifer, is up on the 24th floor of Mandalay Bay right now. But tell me what you saw as you were leaving, because you didn't even believe for the first minute when the fire was going off, the gunshots were going off, that this was actually happening. Is that right?
Yeah, no. For the first about 45 seconds, minute, Jason Aldean kept performing. No one had any idea that this was a real life thing. It almost sounded like a firecracker or a firework kind of thing.
And you said to your sister what?
I told her that she was fine. I told her that it's fake. I told her that it was just, there's nothing to be worried about. It's just fireworks. It's just a part of the show.
And then were you rushed out? Did you run out after you realized what was actually going on?
It was almost like a switch flipped in the crowd. All of a sudden it went from like everyone enjoying it like a great concert to everyone screaming, sprinting. Fences were being just disregarded. Like there was no fences. That wasn't a thing. It was just absolute pandemonium. I'm pretty sure we hit the ground. I don't even know how it happened, but we were on the ground either by pushed or I don't know how it happened. And then it was just like a go, 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 get out kind of thing.
Were you afraid you were going to be stampeded at the time?
Not at the time. It was, I feel like the fight or flight mode in us was just very like, I don't even know what to do. I kind of froze. He actually was the one who was like, we got to leave. So in the moment, it wasn't a thought that processed through my mind. Later, looking back on it, like I definitely think that we were lucky in that way that didn't happen. But
now there are a lot of families separated out there, and I know Jeff told me back here that his cell phone went dead. He was concerned because his wife is up on the 24th floor, like I said, and then these two were also separated. And there's a lot of families. I know the sheriff just went over that information so that we can start to reconnect people who have, strayed or been stuck in one area or another. I mean, you guys are pretty fortunate to be able to find each other in a short period of time.
Oh, so lucky. I'm so thankful. I don't even know where I would be if my brother wasn't with me, for sure. And then it just so happened that he had battery, thank God. My phone died. His phone died. And we were kind of living on 4% over here, just hoping to try and make it to, either our mom or a dad.
Okay, so for if we can help you, maybe help me back in the studio here with that reiteration of how we can get people to reconnect with their family, because I believe that there's probably many people who are still separated and worried about their loved ones, wondering where do they go next. Can you help me relay that information again?
I'm sorry, Christy, you cut out there towards the end. You were saying where people should go next?
Well, I think the question was she's hearing from a lot of people on the ground, you know, where do we go and how do we find out about our loved ones, right, Christy?
Yes, that's correct. I heard the sheriff saying something about where people reconnect, and I didn't catch that. I know these folks are very lucky to be back together, but maybe we can go over that information again so that folks can reconnect with their families.
Well, specifically, if you are in a place where you're being told to shelter in place, you're going to be contacted directly from a first responder, from someone in a position of authority. So you're supposed to stay put if you are in a shelter in place situation.
And the Sheriff Lombardo also addressed that. Let's go ahead and listen back into what Sheriff Lombardo said about that.
Family members, if you are unable to call, or you do not want to wait for a call and you want to respond in person, we have set up a family retreat area for you to respond so we can help you locate your loved ones here at the headquarters. So you will be contacted by a police officer here at the headquarters and they will direct you to where you need to go.
So there's the answer right there. And you can imagine, I mean, Christy's getting these questions. She's being approached on the street. A street that's been full of the running wounded. We're starting to see video on social media, photos on social media of trails of blood down there in the Las Vegas Strip, and people being pushed back further and further and further south from this scene. So you can imagine that the people down there on the ground, if their cell phones have died now hours into this, they are wondering, how do I find out where my family member is? How do I find out? And so that is the answer from Sheriff Lombardo, and we here at News 3 will continue to get that out as much as we can. And
additionally, people are wondering how they can help. I just got a text from a viewer who wanted to know if there was a need for blood. In fact, there is. We were contacted directly by the Las Vegas Blood Bank, and that information is posted on our website, but they are in need of blood donations, and I believe you can contact them even at this late hour as that need currently exists.
Right, and the words they use were desperately in need of donations. So that's an immediate way, as you know, most good people automatically think, what can I do to help? You're sitting at home, you're watching this play out, you feel helpless. That's certainly something that you can do. Phil, I just want to go back to that original question that I asked. As we were listening to the sheriff talk about this Mary Lou Danley, this person of interest who was a companion of this man that they believe came out here and did this horrific thing. They were very tight-lipped about him. Is there some reason why they would do that?
Well, there are many reasons. First is because he's deceased and his next of kin has to be notified that he's deceased before they publicly release the name of this deceased person. But moreover, they need to keep his identity out of the public at this particular point because they need to find out as much as they can about him. You know, there may be people who he spoke with and told, you know, watch the news, I'm going to be on the news tonight or something like that. They don't want those people to take off and think that they're in trouble because they didn't report anything to the police. So they're going to hold that information close. The reason they released the roommate's information is because she is absolutely critical to this investigation. I can't think of anybody that would, at this point, be more critical to the investigation than this woman. You know, I can't help but go back to the one witness that we spoke to, that we heard of, saying, you know, there was a woman in the crowd said we're all going to die. I mean, that's just too much of a coincidence. Now that they're looking for, you know, this Mary Lou, and then a woman making a comment like that.
And she did say that the woman was short. I mean, she says she was Hispanic. We now know that this Mary Lou person is Asian, which is that's easily you know, mistake confused that anyone can make. When you hear that, and this person, according to that witness who talked to Christy Wilcox earlier this evening, saying that that person was kicked out because she was causing that trouble and she was, you know, harassing people and saying we're all going to die tonight, and they kicked her out. What does that say from a law enforcement standpoint? Because I know a lot of times, you know, we may be thinking we're dealing with someone with a mental illness, and you don't know what you should take extremely serious, and then those things are just someone that's maybe, you know, in need of other type of help.
Yeah, and that's a very good point that you make. There's always, in situations like this, people are going to say, was there a warning? Did somebody know ahead of time? What could law enforcement have done? Well, you run into the problem of, somebody utters at the 7-Eleven, I'm going to come back and kill you because you didn't sell me cigarettes. Well, every time that happens, and it happens hundreds of times a day, law enforcement can't detain someone because of what they're thinking. And then depending on what they say, even that may even be the case. They can't detain them for that. But in this case, with the information about you're all going to die tonight, and then 20 plus people die, and then this woman giving that kind of information, that I'm sure that the investigators will develop that information from the witness that we heard from earlier, and hopefully there was some videotape at the venue, and they might be able to get a picture of her at the venue or even at the hotel.
Well, the police reiterated, they said if you took video, get it to us as quickly as you can as we hear this. And I said earlier, I don't know what is more horrifying to hear, the sound of the gunfire in rapid succession or the people screaming tonight. We are understanding that some limited activity at McCarran Airport, which is just across the street, literally within a stone's throw of where this violence played out. Limited activities taking place at McCarran, but hundreds of people are now stuck at McCarran, and I'm getting information that they've now opened the Thomas and Mack for people who need sanctuary tonight. Certainly the emphasis is stay where you are, but if you are mobile and you need a place to go, we are seeing mass transit out there moving people away from the Las Vegas Strip, and the Thomas and Mack is one place. And I just want to tell our viewers, we are hearing from a lot of you who say, I am separated from my loved one. I don't know where they are. Social media can be a great help, but also I want to tell you that the images that are starting to come are very traumatic. This is a traumatic scene that will stay with people. It will go down in history here in Las Vegas, and I just want to warn you that the images you're going to see on social media are very difficult to see, and to proceed with caution as you look, because I know that you must be afraid, you must be traumatized, you must be heartbroken, and gosh, we'll never forget this.
The coming days are going to be disheartening, no question about that. Some people have asked also the question of security. Is this something that, it may be premature to talk about how this could have been prevented, but Phil, maybe you have some knowledge about security at hotels, specifically the casinos here in Las Vegas. They have a pretty advanced security system.
They do, and they have a very strict no firearms policy at every resort in town. You're not allowed to bring a weapon on there, but who's going to check the luggage? Who's going to look inside somebody's suitcase to see if you've got a weapon in there? With the thousands of people that are checking into our hotels every night, they just don't have those resources. And then
Should they?
Well, that's a good question. Are you going to give up your constitutional rights of an unwarranted search and seizure because you want to stay at a 4-star hotel? That's a question that we're going to have to present to ourselves. And then how are the patrons going to feel about that? 99% of the people who go in there are not going to have anything to hide, but they still have to give up that right to check. So, the hotels are going to have to put their collective heads together and think, was there a way to avoid this? In my view, I hate to say it, but in my view, if this person was so demented and had his targets picked out and was on a mission, there's not a lot that can be done to stop that.
Yeah.
I'm imagining something like, we go to the airport now because of 9/11, things are forever changed. Every time some type of threat came to light, we changed something else. And I'm wondering now, will you have to go through a metal detector? And if that's something that should be done. I get the sensitivity because people come here, this is like the adult playground, and what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and everyone just wants to have a good time. But I wonder if they're going to look at things like that, because this is our bread and butter. Hundreds of thousands of Las Vegans work on the Strip. We have people that live on the Strip. This has to be survivable. We have to be able to move on from this because so many people depend on it for their livelihood. If they are going to do whatever they can to try to protect it.
Yeah, and the ripple effect is going to be enormous because of this, and those very questions are going to be presented to the corporations that run the hotels, and they're all going to sit down and say, how can we make our guests safer? And it's going to be a very difficult situation for them to overcome. Sure.
We're just hearing from CNN that now several police officers are among the dead. Antonio Castellan is at UMC Trauma Center. Antonio, we are just getting word that now several officers are dead from CNN. What are you hearing?
Reed, we haven't heard that information outside of UMC Hospital, but I can tell you I've talked to many heroic people outside of UMC Hospital who have said that they brought many concert goers to the hospital to get treatment. One man I talked to said when the shots rang out, he gathered as many people in his truck and he drove them right up to the front of this UMC Trauma Center. Take a look right behind me. The perimeter has still been set. It is very difficult to get inside UMC Hospital. Officers have surrounded it. I would say about a 2-block area has been closed off. We've seen concertgoers who have their wristbands and who have the cowboy hats and boots. We've seen a couple of them leave the area. Since this spot where we're at is closed off, we weren't able to go to them. But looking at them, you can look at their faces and you could see a lot of tears streaming down as they walk to their car. One person shouted out that they feel that they're very lucky to have walked out of the hospital. One officer did say that many of the deceased are still here at UMC Hospital. We haven't gotten an exact number of the number of people that have died, but again, Metro Police, they are keeping people way back. People who are not supposed to be here, they're not going to be let in. And that's some of the frustrations that we're hearing from loved ones who want to know if their brother, their sister, their husband, if they're inside the hospital. They just don't know. I did speak to one gentleman who was able to speak to his wife who was shot in the back. He says that inside the trauma center, it is very chaotic. Nurses, doctors, they're tending to people who have wounds all over their body, who have scrapes. We were told when the shots rang out, there was a stampede and people were just pushing one another. And that's a lot of the injuries that we are hearing is people that have cracked bones and broken ribs. And then, of course, the people who were wounded in the back. But the outside of UMC Trauma Center, a lot of the SWAT cars have left. We haven't heard any ambulances come to this area. We're still trying to see if we could get some words from some of the people who are leaving, but it is a very depressing scene outside of UMC as people try to get some information.
So is the word, Antonio, for people who are watching and still haven't... Antonio, is the word for people who are watching here in the Las Vegas Valley to stay home? Because as we saw there behind you, the roads around UMC are cordoned off and you can't get anywhere in. Is the word to just stay where you are and await word from police to family members who may be watching this tonight?
That is probably the best advice, because when people get here, police have their guns pointed because they want to make sure that no one has any sort of weapon or any sort of explosive device. That's what I was told by an officer out here. They just need to be cautioned that they just don't know what to expect. And anyone who walks up here, they're being questioned and frisked. They want to make sure that everyone has no sort of threat to the hospital, because it's an uncertainty here of what's going on. There's many people that are walking up here that shouldn't be here. Officers are advising them, like you said, it's best to stay home, and they're trying to get out the information on who's wounded and who's hurt and who's deceased. They'll try to get that information as soon as they can, but they're just trying to identify people, and it's not an easy task as more and more people come here to get answers.
All right, Antonio Castellan live at UMC, one of two hospitals that are inundated tonight as a result of the tragedy on the Las Vegas Strip. Multiple victims, 100+ injured, more than 20 deceased. UMC Hospital and Sunrise Hospital both treating a lot of the victims tonight. And again, police are asking people to be patient. Realistically, information is probably still hours away. We know that there are some people who are sheltered in place. The sheriff told us about that. And the protocol there is to just stay sheltered. Stay where you're at. You're in an area that is now protected. And a first responder, someone in authority, is going to come and contact you very shortly, hopefully. And that's a reassurance that their family members can take home with them as well.
One person dead, believed to be the shooter, on the 32nd floor of Mandalay Bay, a hotel room that overlooked that concert venue just across the street. If you're not familiar with that venue, it is a very large field that is used, and it has shipping containers and a lot of other sort of barricades around it, and there's one entrance and one exit. And so the people on the inside were like one of our witnesses who called us on the phone, who happens to be a News 3 employee. She's safe, but she said we were sitting ducks. We heard from a lot of people who said that as they ran out, they met gunfire, that gunfire was ricocheting at their feet, and that as they ran, they saw people to their left and to their right fall. One man saying he saw somebody shot right in the face, somebody's mother. And so it is a traumatic scene. This is the video once again. What do you say? What do you say? Each one of those rounds, Phil, represents somebody's tragedy. Each one of those rounds represents somebody's horrific phone call to get.
Yeah.
And so many of us tonight sending our thoughts and prayers.
Well, and you know, if we can go back to that CNN report that several police officers have been killed on this, that's very, very troubling, because that would mean that you had a number of off-duty police officers in one place. And if that was the case, it kind of, you know, you're kind of wondering how, you don't very often get a whole bunch of cops, off-duty cops in one area, you know.
Well, they could have been concert goers, too.
Yeah, and I'm expecting that's the case. But
some from California.
Yeah. Even with that, they still would have had to have been close proximity to each other, because the gunshots aren't going to be throughout the whole crowd. They're going to be isolated in one area, because that's where most of the people were. If it turns out that there were several off-duty police officers there, and who have been killed, that gives you another angle that you have to investigate.
Yeah.
Were these officers targeted?
The sheriff didn't indicate that anyone specific was targeted by this person, and that's significant.
Yeah.
But it is unusual that
very unusual
this many officers were victims.
Live picture right now, the Thomas and Mack. Gerard, how would we tell our viewers who aren't familiar with this area? A couple blocks away from the Strip, Thomas and Mack, a very big arena where many events happen, and they've now opened it up, and you can start to see a lot of these very traumatized people going
Just off of Tropicana there, east of the Strip. This is where the Runnin' Rebels
UNLV.
play, and it's right on the campus of UNLV. It's a large facility. I believe it holds about 16,000 spectators, something like that, and they have, of course, a large floor area, so it is now being officially opened as a shelter, and for people who perhaps just want information. There will be authorities there who can relay pertinent information.
A lot of people like this guy right here on his cell phone wondering what's the news and where is my loved one, and putting his arm around somebody there, we see there, and you know, we're beginning to see the response. It looks like water is going to be distributed, and I can tell you, if you're watching from out of town, you're going to see the very best in the nation. Some of the greatest biggest hearts live in this valley, and the lights of Las Vegas are not only on the Strip, they are all across this valley, north, south, east, and west. And look at that, already a pallet of water, and people will be received into the safety of the Thomas and Mack Center after going through something so traumatic.
And let's talk about that, because this is something we're going to be dealing with a while, and those who were closest to it may never be the same. You all train for this. You all have protocol when you have something traumatic like this happening. Kind of go through what it's like, the post-traumatic stress, the issues that folks are going to be facing, the uncertainty. I mean, you see police everywhere on the Strip. I've always felt it's one of the safest places you could be because of that. The presence is just that heavy.
And it very much is. I mean, there's entire squads on the department that are dedicated just to patrol the Strip. That's all they do. They don't wander over to I-15. They don't wander over to Paradise. They focus strictly on the Strip. So it is very safe. When something like this happens, you know, like you said, the officers are trained for it. It's still a traumatic event for them, but they do the job that they have to do. You know, they have to put their feelings away while they're doing the job, and then it kicks in later, you know, several days later and maybe several weeks. But for the everyday citizens who aren't expecting something like this, it's just overwhelming. It's just, I mean, the trauma is so intense. If God forbid, you're standing by someone who is shot, you know, the fact that you are standing next to someone and when the human body receives a gunshot from a high-powered rifle, it's a horrible thing.
You know, we were just peering into what was a very personal moment for three people who were just there reunited outside the Thomas and Mack. And we're reminded that when people are traumatized, hurt, it's almost as if, in a figurative sense, we should take off our shoes. This was a group that was reunited there at the Thomas and Mack. So if you're watching this tonight, know that that is a place where reunions are starting to happen as we start to hear of the accounts of the witnesses.
And as you mentioned that, Reed, we do have another concert witness who is joining us by phone, I believe, Ashley Galaviz. Ashley, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, Ashley, where are you from, first of all, and where were you when all of this happened?
I'm from Kingston, California, which is just outside of Palm Springs, California.
Okay, and you were here for the concert?
Here for the concert, and we were about 5-6 rows from the front of the stage when it happened.
Describe that moment when you heard the shots. We've heard from a lot of eyewitnesses who said they thought perhaps it was part of the show, that maybe it was fireworks or something that was planned, but then people realized it wasn't planned and there was some panic.
Yeah, at first, when we first heard it, Jason was still playing, and we initially thought that it was like an electrical issue, maybe something going on with the speakers, and everybody, you know, ducked down really fast. And then there was a brief moment of pause. I'm assuming, I don't know, you know, maybe when they were reloading, and then people started kind of getting up thinking that it was safe. But then it started to pick up again, and at that point it was just like chaos, and people were just running out of there. And I looked to my right, and about 5 feet from me was a girl laying on the ground. There's 2 guys over her, one was her husband, and instinctively, I work in medical. I ran over to her, and she had been shot in the face. And I was just trying to put pressure on her face and keep her calm, let her know that, you know, there were people there for her.
Oh, my goodness. We're just glad that you're okay, and so sorry that you had to witness that. And our hearts go out to all of the other concert goers who were there and had to experience that and saw the suffering and the panic that ensued following the concert there. Ashley, thank you for the update, for your eyewitness account. And we have now a breaking development in the case, or what we believe is a breaking development.
Well, and you know what? We read that. I'm going to stay away from it. I'm going to stay away from it because it came from a viewer who was listening to police scanners, and I just feel like we need to stay away from that for a minute. Let's go. It's
But
from,
this picture is from
Okay,
Metro.
we got it from Metro now.
Okay,
And
go
this
ahead,
is
go ahead.
Mary Lou Danley, who is the roommate of the shooting suspect from tonight. He, of course, was put down. He was on the 32nd floor when all of this happened. But this is the person that police are looking for. They believe that she may know something. At the very least, she knew the suspect. They're calling her a roommate, and you see the car description that they have. They're looking for 2 cars, a Hyundai Tucson and also a Chrysler Touareg. So if you see this woman, please call police. This is the most important person right now to this investigation, because police believe that she may know something. And it's very eerie to see her and to hear that they know that this shooter had a female companion, because as we reported earlier, Christy Wilcox was interviewing a very emotional witness who says that 45 minutes before those shots rang out, a woman was saying that everyone was going to die and that she was pretty irate, she was harassing people, and that woman was kicked out of the venue. So that is what one of the eyewitnesses said. We don't know if that is this Mary Lou Danley woman, but certainly someone that police are going to want to talk to, that witness, to say, hey, is this the woman that you saw, now that we can put a picture to the name?
Likely, this will be on every billboard on the Las Vegas Strip and on the freeways. Metro is really good about putting those pictures out. So if you recognize this person, get on the phone and call quickly. We are getting some word from viewers who are listening to Scanners that there's an update about her, but until we can really nail that down and get it confirmed from police, this is what we want to go with. This is her, Mary Lou Danley, 4 feet 11, and 2 cars of interest.
Mesquite resident.
Mesquite resident, pretty reliable source telling us a Mesquite resident. In excess of 100 people injured, in excess of 20 people dead. Some of those off-duty police officers. A moment ago, I also got an update. For those of you who are watching at home and haven't heard from your loved one who's down on the Strip tonight, UMC Trauma is now at capacity. Sunrise Hospital also at capacity, and now they're taking shooting victims to Desert Springs Hospital. So there are 3 emergency rooms that are very, very busy tonight. We can only assume that there are more as well who are very busy tonight. It's going to be a long night, and we here at News 3 will be on air throughout the night and all through the morning and tomorrow to bring you the latest information that we have.
Just to reiterate, you know, we've gotten some numbers finally. We were careful not to give numbers out early on because we just kept hearing many victims. In fact, we heard the term dozens a few times, and I personally was reluctant to give that figure out because I was hoping the opposite would be true. But we now have confirmed through the sheriff that there are 100 plus who have been injured, more than 20 deceased. Several officers are among the injured and deceased. And again, this was all taking place at a country music concert, the Route 91 Harvest Festival concert, which was headlined by country performer Jason Aldean. And we heard from the sheriff and others that he was actually rushed off the stage right after those shots rang out.
Right, the nightmare began just after 10 o'clock, and as we've seen from the video, and if we can show that again, a lot of people at first, and we've even heard from the witnesses that we've talked to tonight, that they thought, oh, it's firecracker, oh, it's a malfunctioning piece of equipment. One guy even told his sister, oh, it's fake, ignore it. And then, of course, they started to realize this is indeed real, which makes sense because you would never think that something like this on such a grand scale would happen here. What can you tell us, Phil, you know, now that we know a little bit more about this woman, what do you think police are doing to try to make sure that she's isolated? Obviously, putting her face out there is going to do a lot. People on social media even sending us her picture. People have gotten to Facebook and found her profile and that type of thing. Tell us about how that can be helpful or how maybe it could even be hurtful that so many people are playing detective.
Well, the inherent problem with that is the information that is being disseminated by the department is information that the department wants to get out to the public so that the public can assist in locating this woman. The downside to that is if there's some friends of hers who are listening to the information, they could give her the heads up and say, hey, the cops are looking for you, you better get out of here. That's the downside to it. But in this kind of situation, in a horrific event like this, like you said earlier, she's the most important person in this investigation right now, and she absolutely has to be found as quickly as possible, and she has to be interviewed and find out what's going on. I can't imagine her involvement being such that she didn't have anything or had no knowledge of it. And if she did have knowledge of it and she didn't call the cops and say, I think something bad's going to happen, that speaks volumes to the, in my view, the integrity of this person.
We want to let our viewers know we are getting your emails, we are getting your tweets. Ex-Navy corpsman retired said, I was there, I ran to try to help as many people as I could. He saw just at his feet 10 to 15 dead. Horrible, heartbreaking. We also have on the phone Amber Morrow, who is a peer of ours, a reporter out of the state of Florida, and was at the concert. Amber, can you hear us and tell us what you saw?
Hi, this is Emerald. Yes, I am a reporter out of Florida for the CBS affiliate there. I was not at the concert, just to be clear. I was in the Mandalay Bay area, the complex. I was at the Delaware Hotel attending a reception for a good friend of mine who had just gotten married. So I was not on duty. I was not working, but I was waiting on my Uber, and I heard someone say that someone had a machine gun. And naturally, as a reporter, you're skeptical. You want to know, well, where are you getting this information from? So I tried to figure out what was happening as I was waiting on my Uber, trying to figure out if I needed to get to safety right away or what was actually happening. And then suddenly I saw a police car come up. Then I saw another one come up. And then I saw another one come up, and then the officers got out, and they had all of their guns, and it was just a rush. No one communicated to us anything, where to go, what to do. Naturally, of course, their focus was getting whatever was happening under control, which at that point I had no idea. No one told us, you guys need to go here to go to safety, you guys should go in this direction. That was not the focus at the time. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on, what should I do, am I safe? And I suddenly see people running out of the hotel complex, and I see a guy crouched down, crawling out, and that immediately told me, you need to run as well. So I ran across the street, which was in the back portion of the Mandalay Bay / Delano area, and it left us kind of isolated because the Uber canceled, another Uber that we tried to call canceled. So there were a group of people who were stranded back there, not knowing how they were going to get around. Now, I'm not from this area, and I don't know exactly where I am. So if you can just imagine what was going through my mind. And then a woman and a man walked up, and this woman, she was dirty. She had fallen. She had a scrape on her knee. Her clothes were tattered, and she could barely breathe. And she was just saying that they were shooting down. They were shooting down. We saw them shooting down. This was before any news reports had come out. So
Shooting down from the 32nd floor, we've now learned, Emerald.
Exactly. So before knowing that, I'm trying in my mind to comprehend what is happening right now. I'm here for a wedding, and I'm now in the middle of what is a huge tragedy. And she was really concerned about not being near her children. She was telling me all these things, and I was just trying to calm her down. I also had my father on the phone because I was trying to tell him, like, just stay on the phone with me because I don't know what's going on, and I want you to be here for me. So it was a terrifying situation. There were 3 gentlemen who came up, saw me walking down the street. I immediately went into reporter mode. I kind of shot some video, and I started tweeting stuff out, even as I'm terrified myself. But these guys, they came up to me and they said, are you okay? And I told them that I was trying to get back to the hotel where I was staying, which was not the Mandalay Bay or the Delano. And they eventually helped me get a taxi back because Uber was not able to reach us. They paid for it. And unfortunately, I lost touch with them before I was able to give a final thank you. So if they're out there listening, I want to say thank you so much because they were incredibly helpful during such a distressed time. But it was terrifying because in a secluded kind of area where we were, where the roads were blocked off, so no taxis or Ubers or Lyfts could get to us. People were literally hiding in the bushes. People were crouched down in the bushes. People were putting themselves up against the wall because they didn't know if someone was going to come out and start shooting. Like, that is no way to enjoy it an evening. I mean, it was terrifying. Now, as a reporter, I'm usually the one who's coming into a situation after this happens, and you're assessing and you're trying to figure out and you're trying to talk to victims and things like this. But this time I was like kind of part of the story, and that's terrifying. And I will never look at a shooting or a situation as just another headline because this is real. It affects people's lives. And it's absolutely terrifying.
I think you humanize it so beautifully there. I will never look at another shooting again. It's just another headline, indeed. And we want to let our viewers know, to that search for Mary Lou Danley, NBC, and now we're starting to partner with many media outlets and media sources that are out on the ground. NBC is reporting that one vehicle with one of the plates identified by police has been stopped. That's all we know. But we do know that one of the vehicles with the plates has been stopped. That's from NBC News and their sources out on the ground. No word as to whether Mary Lou Danley was inside that vehicle.
We also got an update from Metro just a moment ago that the freeways have been reopened for through traffic. That's with the exception of the off-ramps that are heading eastbound. Those are still closed from Sahara to Russell Road. So that, too, provides some assurance that that the scene and the situation is slowly coming under control, and we're showing you a live picture here of the 15, and you can see that there is some movement, traffic in both directions, and of course at this late hour that's not unusual to see that amount of cars.
Right, and still very much a life-saving effort underway with so many people injured, 100 plus injured in this horrific situation, 20 plus dead. As we reported, the hospitals filling up, UMC at capacity, Sunrise at capacity. And just hearing from that reporter who was out there, you know, a lot of times we hear about the law enforcement that run toward the trouble. There's another group that also runs toward the trouble, and that's reporters, photographers. We've done it ourselves. But when you see this, when you see something so massive, and I think we should always be thinking of this, even if it's just one casualty. This is someone's life. We always meet people on the worst day of their life, and to be respectful of that. And we talked about the Las Vegas community. A lot of people don't know Las Vegas past the Strip, but they're going to learn about us now. They're going to see that this is much bigger than the Strip, that this is a community of people. I've only been here for a year, to be a year next month, and I have never met such nice, caring people who will do whatever they can to make you feel at home, because a lot of us are not from Nevada.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, people are going to learn that there's more than just the couple of miles down Las Vegas Boulevard.
And well organized.
Very
organized businesses and other groups who will no doubt dispatching their people. You know, the MGM, the people at MGM, this has affected them directly. They will have their staff tomorrow and throughout the night making sure that their guests are taken care of and moved to where they need to be safely. And our business community, our law enforcement community, our schools, our hospitals. You know, I mentioned earlier that I had a tip from somebody in the medical community that all staff had been paged into all hospital trauma centers. And so doctors and nurses there, and you've only got to imagine, Phil, we're almost 33 years with Metro Police, that they get the wounded in and they assess, is this person critical? They probably put them in certain categories and then begin the care from there.
Yeah, and they prioritize those victims as best they can because you know, this isn't like a situation where everybody's going to have the same type of injuries. A high-powered weapon is going to cause massive damage to the human body, and a lot of those injuries are not survivable even in the trauma room. So they have to prioritize who they're going to be treating first based on the amount of damage that these victims have suffered.
The last caller brought up another good point, that people were confused in part because they're also not from here. This was happening, you know, in a tourist area. It's got to be difficult for police and authorities to police a crowd of several 100,000 people on any given day who are from different parts of the world. I mean, we're talking about some people who don't even speak the language. It's a challenge.
And the inherent problem working on the Strip is that it's just one big party atmosphere down there. You know, all the people that are there to have a good time and carry on and drink and party. And then when something like this happens and law enforcement shows up in mass and starts giving directions to people that are just trying to have a good time, there's going to be a lot of confusion and a lot of, you know, why? We didn't do anything wrong. How come you're telling us to get out of here and get on the floor?
Over the coming hours, many of us here in Las Vegas and throughout the world are going to realize that we know somebody that was there. Already tonight we have talked to several of our staffers who were there, and now we're hearing that somebody who has been a part of the News 3 family in the past was also there. One
of our colleagues, in fact, I'm thinking back now, and I saw, in fact, that he tweeted earlier that he was at the concert.
Who has military background experience,
Military
by the way.
background. He's a former anchor here at News 3. Dan Ball was at the concert, and I believe we have Dan on the phone. Dan, are you there?
Reed, Gerard, hi guys.
Hey, so tell us what's going on. Am I correct? Did I not see you tweet or Instagram earlier today that you were at the concert, and now this happens? Give us your account.
And are you okay?
We are okay, guys. We got into town Friday. We've been at the venue the last 3 days. Sorry, I'm a little shaken up thinking about what just happened and where we were at moments before it happened. But everybody in our party is safe. We had come over to enjoy the show. We were also representing a local radio station out of the Palm Springs area, 98.5 The Bull. We were doing some reporting there, Facebook Live and whatnot. And we came over to see good friends of ours, John and Kenny from the band Big and Rich. And we got to the venue tonight at about 5 o'clock. We picked up some backstage passes. We went into the back where all the tour buses were, said hi to Jake Owen, said hi to Jason Aldean. Everybody was doing meet and greet stuff. We were hanging around on the tour buses. John and the band got up and took the stage, I think, around 6:35, 6:45, somewhere in there. We were literally on the stage with them. We got invited up to the stage to stand back behind them. They always have a bar there where they bring up veterans and active duty military and do a toast with them. My girlfriend and I and several other veterans were standing up there on the stage for pretty much the entire concert. When their set was finished, we went off the stage. I kind of stayed up and was getting some video of Jake Owen. And then the bus was going to pull out when Jake was done, when Jason was getting ready to go on, because the band was going to play over at Redneck Riviera, which John Rich owns that bar over by Bally's. So we were leaving and literally on the bus driving. We didn't hear the shots because we were on a tour bus. We got to the venue, we got up to the bar, and as they were starting another set, somebody ran up the steps and said, there's been a mass shooting at the venue, at the stage, right where we were just standing, locked the bar down. And so John and the band let everybody know in the bars they were going to lock it down if we were safe. And we stayed in the bar for a few hours, and then just moments ago, police let us get in the tour bus and leave the Strip, and we were able to come over here in the suburbs to a friend's house in Spanish Trail. So everybody's safe. That band's safe. We do know John and Kenny and the guys were talking with some of Jason Aldean's band members. We believe his band members are okay, but they were confirming there were people on the sides of the stage and down front and everything that were hit and killed. And that's what we heard, and that's what we know, and that's kind of where I'm coming from. It's just unbelievable, guys. You know, Reed, Gerard, Channel 3 team, I was here with you guys for 5-6 years, been doing news for 23 and a half years, started out as a combat journalist in the Air Force, doing stuff for Armed Forces Radio Television Service. I covered the San Bernardino shooting nearly 2 years ago out there in Palm Springs. I was on the air when that one happened and then went to the scene. We were literally a block away when FBI agents took down the 2 shooters that day. We saw that gunfire. I was on the scene for when the 2 Palm Springs police officers were killed last October, Leslie Zarevny and Gil Vega. But to have something like this happen where my girlfriend and I, this entire band, the people that were standing out there, were all walks of life from everywhere you can imagine. They were having a good time. We were on this stage just enjoying one another, being entertained, and have something like this happen and know that if we'd have stayed on that stage just a few more minutes longer, it could have been us.
Dan, I have a question for you.
Right now.
I have a question. You know, Dan, when I picture Dan Ball in my mind, I picture your little girl who's with you, and I'm glad to hear she wasn't with you. So glad. Avery.
No, Avery's home safe. Avery's home safe in Palm Springs. My girlfriend and I were on the stage with the band, and a lot of, there was some locals. There was 3 or 4 veterans right here from Las Vegas with us.
Well, I know a lot of viewers know that you are dad number 1 to Avery, so we're glad she's not there, and I'm glad to allay some of those concerns, and a lot of viewers will wonder where was Avery. But that does lead me to the question about families. Paint a picture, if you will, for our viewers about who goes to this concert. I've been told by a lot of people this was a family concert, and we can only assume that there were families affected.
You know, Reed, I can tell you, just in the last few years, I became friends with these guys in this band, Big and Rich. And since then, I've been attending a lot more country concerts. I've been to the CMA Festival now 3-4 years in a row, I think, in Nashville. We live in the Palm Desert, Palm Springs area, and we attend Stagecoach every year for several years. Even when I was working here in Vegas, I'd drive over and go to Stagecoach. This was very similar to that type of atmosphere. There were people sitting, you know, underneath the trees and lights, down the shops and food row, looking at the stages, the VIP sections and these grandstands. People were sitting on chairs, just hanging out. And I can tell you guys, and I literally had just said this to my girlfriend and to friends we were with while we were on the stage. I leaned over. I don't know if they could hear me say this, but I was like, look at this crowd. With all the divisiveness that's been going on in this country, and I'm trying to get emotional, the last 2 years, I look out in that crowd. I saw, and I was in the crowd the last 2 nights on the ground, and then today I was on the stage looking down at them, and then being with them the last 2 days and seeing it, and being in the middle. There were black, brown, white, gay, straight, Catholic, Jewish. There was every walk of life of American there, guys. And nobody cared about a label. And nobody cared about who they were from or what walk of life or who they prayed to or who they were married to. Or none of it. They were having a good time. They were being entertained by some good old wholesome music. And for whomever did this, God better be with them. And if it's only that one person we know about, I hope it is. But if there's more shooters out there, if anybody's out there and they know anything else, they better do the right thing and turn these bastards in.
Well, Dan, we are just happy that you're okay, and your loved ones and the group that you were with, that they're okay, and we appreciate your expertise and your testimonial here for us tonight. And you're right. I mean, this was a crowd full of great people, and we had a lone shooter who lone wolf shooter who you know, in my mind, just a cowardly person, probably deranged and having some sort of mental issue. But Dan, we're glad you're okay, and we appreciate the comments.
Thank you, Dan.
And a lot of people's hearts breaking, including Governor Sandoval. He tweeted out, "A tragic and heinous act of violence has shaken the Nevada family. Our prayers are with the victims and all affected by this act of cowardice." So our governor tonight speaking out, or this morning rather, speaking out about this. And a lot of people taking to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, just saying, Vegas, just to know that this many people, we're talking about at least 20 fathers, brothers, cousins, possibly children, because as we've been told, this was a family-friendly event.
And more than 100 wounded.
And more than 100 wounded.
I believe we have some video of Thomas and Mack Center. I don't know if we can show that, but there was a substantial crowd of people that were being ushered in there. It looks like it's died down just a bit, but if you're just with us, the Thomas and Mack, home of the Runnin' Rebels, is now a shelter for anyone who needs it, anyone who wants it. Volunteers are out there. They've also brought over some, looks like some food and some water and other supplies to assist anyone who maybe just needs information or a place to stay for the evening.
On the phone, Damian Binder, bartender who had been serving the wants and needs of the people inside that concert venue. Damian, we want to hear what you had to say, but I also want to know, give us a layout. How many exits were there? I've been in that venue. There's really not a lot of entrances and exits, and what can you tell us about that, the lay of the land, and then what you saw, Damian?
Well, what I saw was there was really just one exit, and everyone was trying to get through it, and people were getting trampled, but someone must have tore down a fence or something, because we were able to just get out quicker. I never seen anything like it. It was just chaos.
And
people trampling each other, running, blood. It was, I don't know.
Damian, we're hearing in excess of 20 people dead. We're also told by a lot of sources that that number will go up throughout the night, and more than 100 injured. Tell us what you saw by way of the casualties, if you can.
20 people? That's ridiculous. There must have been at least 500 to 500 rounds of machine gun fire, and I'd say maybe 10, 15 sniper rounds.
So you heard all of that and experienced all of that. Are you okay? And are the people that you work with down there okay? Have you been able to talk to them?
Well, a good friend of mine, a girl died in the back of his truck. And whoever else, I don't know. I haven't been able to get a hold of them. I hope they're all right.
You know, that just gives us so much pause to hear that somebody's daughter, you know, I'm a father to a daughter, and to hear that somebody's daughter tonight went to a concert, prepared to celebrate her life, and then died in the back of a pickup truck. That just is something that elicits a lot of tender feelings tonight. And
I guess you just never know when it's your time, you know? You go to work and you start getting shot at with a machine gun.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about running away from the scene and how long the gunfire continued as you were running away?
Well, we all hid in between, all the workers hid behind the bar, and it sounded like it was getting closer and closer and closer in the crowd, and I wasn't going to just sit there and get killed. So I figured I might as well make a run for it. Maybe I got a shot to get away, and luckily I did.
Well, we want to let our viewers know that for every Damian, there are hundreds of others that were in that very large concert venue. And Damian, we can tell you that traffic is moving not far from the Strip right now, and it's taking away people who are walking around dazed, and they're going to the Thomas and Mack Center. Traffic is also moving on the freeway once again. This happened on October 1st in the 10 o'clock hour, and now some 4+ hours. It is now 2:47 a.m. Monday, October 2nd. It is the day after, and this will be a very long day for the people of Las Vegas. And, you know, we always say the people of Las Vegas, but we know that our citizens are from all parts of the United States and from all parts of the globe. And when they come to Las Vegas and they enter into our borders, they are our family. And you just never know how many people are touched by this. You know, it's like the tragedy on 9/11. We knew that the casualties and the wounded came from all parts of the United States and all parts of the globe, because we are, you know, we're a little city in the desert, but we are an international city, and our visitors are international. And so our thoughts are with everybody who came to this concert tonight and everybody who will be touched by this. Damian Binder, bartender down on the Strip, thank you.
And you made an excellent point about how pretty much, I would imagine, a good portion of the people who have ties to Las Vegas will be touched by this in some way. there were so many people out there. In fact, I was with some women from Junior League yesterday, and they happened to go yesterday, but they were saying how they were so excited. They had been looking forward to this concert for the longest time. They went on to post on social media how it was the best time they ever had, and I just can't imagine what they're thinking, knowing that they didn't go on Sunday night because they had to get up early for work, but just knowing that they were there. So many people looking forward to this, planning for this, could never have imagined that something so tragic, so hateful, so horrific could happen right here in this place where, you know, we joke all the time, this is one of the happiest places on earth. I mean, I know they like to say that that's the amusement park, but so many people come here and it's the best time they've ever had in their life.
And they save up for years to come here.
And this is one of the best times in Las Vegas as well. The fall weather is perfect. It's concert season. I mean, we just had Life is Beautiful here. We just had the iHeart Festival, and now the Harvest Festival. I mean, they really run in succession. There's almost a major event every weekend this time of year. And it really is one of the best places in the country to come see a concert, to come see a show, to come and enjoy a long weekend.
And these events are staffed with massive police presence, and that could be why CNN is reporting that several officers are among the dead tonight. Massive police presence. And then Phil Ramos, you can back me up here. We know that many Metro officers, Henderson, Nevada officers, North Las Vegas Police Department, we have those departments here that make up the police force here. Many of them, when they leave the surface of Metro, North Las Vegas, or Henderson, they then go down to these casino properties to head up their security department. So, you know, we have law enforcement down there that wear the badge, but we also have a lot of people, don't we, Phil, that are inside those casinos, that are heading up the security operations, who are tried and true Metro, Henderson, North Las Vegas police professionals.
Yeah, many officers, you know, after they retire, go on and take jobs in the various resorts, either running their corporate security or actually supervising the security officers that are there. You know, the troubling thing about this is you know, with CNN reporting that several officers were among the dead. I don't believe that that's going to be any uniformed officers that were responding or actually working.
And we're hearing off duty, some from California.
Yeah, so with that bit of information, you know, traditionally Vegas, especially on the Strip, is a very safe place to be because there are so many cops on the Strip. There are so many security officers on the Strip, and just the ones that you can see are in such numbers. But there's also a very large number of undercover officers and plainclothes officers.
And Phil, not to cut you off, we are getting one report, at least one on duty in critical condition. That just came to us from one of our producers. So certainly a situation where they probably were in the mix, trying to fend off and help, and got caught in this crossfire. Tell us more, as you were, about, you know, just the presence here and the difficulty they were facing, because they really were, as our own production assistant said, sitting ducks, because this person was perched up on a 32nd floor. So they were really in a lose-lose situation when they're running there trying to help.
Well, in addition to the officers that are regularly assigned to the Strip, there would have been a number of officers working this event on an overtime basis, providing security for the attendees and you know, around the stage. There's always a number of officers that are working boxing events and you know, all these events that they have on the Strip, and there would have been a number of officers in the crowd there at the concert. So once this situation started and they realized, you know, the shots are being fired and they're coming from the Mandalay, then they would have started running right over there, and they very easily could have been targeted by this person who was firing the shots. So the officer who was injured, the on-duty officer who was injured, was very likely injured by
voluntary statements and fill it out. Make sure that you fill out the top portion, which is who you are. Fill out the middle portion, which is what happened.
Yeah, it sounds like they're giving some instruction to folks
and
out there at
the bottom. There are multiple officers from Las Vegas Metro who will then take that voluntary statement from you.
So he's on the megaphone.
I appreciate your patience and your cooperation. So again, if you are a witness to what happened tonight, not simply an evacuee from the hotel, when you come up the escalator, I need you to get with one of the officers and get a written voluntary statement.
And no doubt they'll have hundreds. You know, if he's on a megaphone up there on one of the terraces of the Thomas and Mack, you can bet that behind, oh, and there they come, they're coming off of buses into the Thomas and Mack. These people who are traumatized are now being told inside, there's a whole army of police officers, we will be taking your voluntary statements tonight to tell the story of what happened. And you look at the luggage, these people are coming out of McCarran Airport. They're coming out of hotels. Right. They packed that luggage thinking they were coming to a happy, safe experience, and now they have their luggage going into a stadium where they will stay the night giving their statements and telling their stories.
Phil, I know you will remember this. In the months and years following 9/11, there was a big debate as to whether Las Vegas should be viewed as a potential target city. There was some federal funding involved that would go to Homeland Security and local agencies. And a lot of the federal authorities said, no, Las Vegas really isn't there. And I remember the sheriff at the time saying, look, we have Hoover Dam, we've got all these people on the Strip, we've got a military base here. We are a target simply because of the name Las Vegas. It's an international name. Is there any question now, and does that the fact that was even a debate back then at this point make any sense?
You know, it's ridiculous that it was a point that they tried to make years ago, because we have a huge number of potential targets and victims here in Las Vegas. And, you know, if you listen to the ideals of the terrorists, the radical Islamic terrorists, their very beliefs are just Las Vegas is just Sin City, and it's a horrible place. It should be eliminated from the earth just because of the activity that goes on here that is so contrary to their beliefs. Vegas is a prime target for terrorist activity, and I'm just boggled by that.
And we want to, you know, we're not trying to say that this obviously was a terrorist act. However, the fact that there's a certain vulnerability because of how we're positioned and the number of people that we get in our city.
Well, and let's talk about that vulnerability, because I mean, let's just have this out here on the set. We've got New Year's Eve where people are shoulder to shoulder on the Las Vegas Strip, and hovering on the left and on the right, in front of and behind them, are these hotel rooms that overlook the Las Vegas Strip. We've got the upcoming Las Vegas Rock and Roll Marathon, where once again thousands of people come and they run from right there by the Mandalay Bay. In fact, they started a concert right where this tragedy happened, and they run the Las Vegas Strip and then down into Old Las Vegas, downtown Las Vegas, where it all began. So you've got these two events, and I'm just talking about two events where people are shoulder to shoulder, curb to curb on the Las Vegas Strip, 50 people deep at some time. Do we close the Las Vegas Strip and make it so it's pedestrian only? Do we let people out on the street in New Year's Eve to be sitting targets for somebody who could be in a hotel room? Because that's the vulnerability.
Exactly.
What changes do we make?
Yeah, and you make a very good point there. I mean, people come here to Las Vegas to enjoy themselves, to not be locked into their hotels, or not have to go through extensive scrutiny just to be able to go out and do the things that they want to do. And then something like this happens, and it causes everybody to sit back and reflect and go, wait a minute, this could happen again, and it very well could happen again. I think the discussion will be what caused this specific event. You know, this is going to be the worst mass shooting in Vegas history, in Nevada history for that matter. What could have been done to stop it? We won't know that until this investigation gets off the ground and find out about the shooter and what his motives were. If it was, you know, like we had mentioned earlier, if it was just a lone wolf and decided, I'm just going to see how many people I can kill, it's going to be very hard to defend against that.
Right, and one person who may have a lot of those answers is right there, Mary Lou Danley. Police looking for her. They found her card in the room, and they also believe that she was the suspect's roommate. And so all eyes looking for this woman, and this car right here, this Hyundai Tucson with a Nevada license plate. Kind of speak to, because, you know, we talk about terrorism, and that's something that could still happen even after this, when it's homegrown terrorism. Because I think terrorism is terrorism. You're terrorizing people. Yeah. It hurts a little bit more to know that this is a person that, from our sources, are saying this person is from Mesquite, which is not far away from here. Speak to that and how that changes the investigation?
Well, you know, it speaks directly to how unpredictable these events are, and the people who perpetrate these crimes are. It's just so unpredictable. There's no way to sit down and say, well, the next event's going to happen over here, and it's going to be so-and-so is going to be responsible for it. You know, you can do all the intelligence work in the world and have databases that you refer to all the time, that there's always going to be that one person who gets it in his head to go out in a blaze of glory and do something horrible like tonight. And it's very, very difficult to try and pin those people down. And once you do pin them down, how much action can you take against them if they haven't done anything? If there hasn't been an overt act, if there hasn't been a purchase of large amounts of ammunition and trying to buy weapons illegally, if they haven't done any of those predicate acts that would allow law enforcement to take some action, what can you do?
And they're going to be wanting to know where that came from. I timed this, and again, it's a rough timing, but we are hearing this video. Every time I look at this, I count about 12 to 15 seconds of consistent pop, 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 pop coming from that weapon. Then it's between 14 and 20 seconds where it's silent, and then another sustained round, 15 to 20 seconds of gunfire. 33 years in Metro, you've got to know this kind of weapon. How, you know, we could slow this tape down and count how many bullets were fired, but how many in those two blasts of that pop, 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 how many rounds are we talking about that could have been fired into that crowd? Well, 10, 20, 50, 100, 200?
Yeah. Assault weapons have a number of different magazines that can be loaded into them. Some high-capacity magazines, some weapons are capable of holding magazines that have 50 rounds in them. And you can discharge those 50 rounds in just a matter of seconds, especially with a fully automatic weapon. You can empty that magazine and in just a few seconds dump that magazine, load another one, and start firing again. So in that time frame, very high number of shots you can attribute to, number one, an assault weapon, and number two, a high capacity magazine. That's one of the things that gun control advocates have tried to enforce, magazines that don't hold a large number of bullets.
You talk about the difficulty in policing a lone shooter.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is we have lone shooters all the time.
All the time.
I mean, you obviously know, we know because of being in the media, but it's almost an every other day thing where there's some kind of standoff and someone has a gun, and a lot of times it's a domestic situation. The odd thing here is that it was an attack against a literal sea of humanity.
Yeah.
But in terms of knowing when someone is going to go over the edge, that's almost impossible.
Oh,
I mean, you can look for signs, but that's a hard thing to police, is it not?
It is. It is virtually impossible to try and predict who the next person is that's going to do something like this. You know they're out there, and you know it's just a matter of time before this happens someplace else. But there's 300 million people in the United States that you have to try and figure out where's the next one going to come from. It can't be done.
John Rich with the country music group Big and Rich was just off stage from Jason Aldean. He tweeted out, "We are okay. Fans, friends, not. Worst of humanity at work." Praying for the victim. Worst of humanity at work. And you're hearing this man say to this woman right now, "Get down, get down, get down." And you are seeing the worst of humanity at work. At the same time, we know that the best of humanity is also at work. We do look to the helpers, and we know that our hospital staffs are working very hard. UMC Trauma Center, Sunrise Hospital, Desert Springs Hospital, all receiving the wounded and sadly some of the dead that weren't left there down on the Las Vegas Strip tonight.
And they're in desperate need of blood.
Good point. Do you have the contact for that, Latoya? Because we've been
Las Vegas.
a lot of our viewers have been asking about that. Las Vegas Blood Bank.
Las Vegas Blood Bank. And they say they're in critical need of blood.
Great point. And so those are the helpers, and we can only imagine that people are starting to show up for that tonight. And trauma counselors will be down at the Thomas and Mack where people are giving their statements.
We've been hearing from various groups. I mean, some of the nonprofits that I'm familiar with are already, they use the term mobilizing and getting people ready. They know there's going to be a need. There are going to be people with a variety of needs. Some people will just need a hug or a prayer together. Others are going to be in need of something a lot more you know, maybe more substantial in a certain area, physical substantial area, but have no doubt people are going to be stepping up. They already are.
Especially when you hear from witnesses, like the young man we heard from earlier, the bartender who says that a girl died in the back of his friend's truck.
That probably hasn't even registered fully with him yet. He's talking to us, telling us about it, but tomorrow he's going to wake up, or later today, he's going to wake up and it's going to be a trauma in his mind. And that trauma is going to be playing out in a lot of families.
One network report just now saying that at UMC alone, 50 people in that emergency room right now. Just at UMC, 50 people. So that would account for the in excess of 100 injured, in excess of 20 dead. And we had the bartender who was on not long ago, who was right there, and he went running. He said, that's going to go way up. Yeah. And that was certainly a much more conservative number than what he saw and ran over. And, you know, we've heard several times they said there wasn't a lot of entrance or exit points that they could escape to. So people literally fighting for their lives, rendering aid to the people at their sides, tore fences down to get the hell out of that venue. That tells you how desperate of a situation that is when people will see a trampling situation and then tear down fences to get out. And you know, if I had my loved one with me and we were on the run, you can bet we would be tearing down a fence to get away from danger. So we're starting to get these very human circumstances and pictures that just give you great pause.
Yeah. Right now we're all still sort of in that shock mode, that immediate but now we're going to start to get the emotional stories and the real life accounts and the person who died next to the person who was trying to help, and it's going to be tough, no question.
Right, and as the time goes on, it's 3:05 here this morning. People are starting to get up. They're starting to wake up to this nightmare. I'm sure that you all are getting a lot of calls on your phones, as I am. And just to recap, this nightmare began at 10:08 on October 1st. A lot of people, having a good time at this Harvest Fest when this one person that police believe was on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay started opening up fire. We're talking about rapid fire. In fact, you can hear it now. Let's listen in real quick. So we can see, and it's starting again, as Reed said, about how there was one way in and one way out, and people rushing, trying to get out, breaking down fences, doing whatever they can, not really knowing what's happening. As you mentioned, Phil, police already heavily on the scene there, many of them running toward it, but then I'm sure at some point they realized, okay, this is not a threat down on the ground. At some point they realized this is a person who's perched up in one of the properties. What do they do then?
Well, it just makes it all the worse because the tactics that someone is employing by being on 30 floors up and having a far superior position and shooting advantage of looking down on a crowd, the officers, aren't used to something like that. They're used to being on the same level as an active shooter, being on the same floor, and they can confront him directly. In this case, as far away as he was, and 30 stories up, shooting a high-powered weapon down, they're sitting ducks. Everybody was sitting ducks, the cops included.
No wonder they tore the fences down to try to get out.
Yeah.
Have an update. Look, we are 4 hours away from staff at our local school district to start making their way to schools, to start opening up schools. 4 hours away from teachers starting to turn the lights on and get their classrooms ready. Clark County School District sent this out just a moment ago. Law enforcement has cleared us to have school today, but students and employees directly affected by the tragedy on the Strip will be excused. Students and employees impacted will need to talk to their school or supervisor directly. They're also saying that they understand that some buses could run late in the morning as the sun begins to rise because of some of the closures on and around the Strip, which brings my mind to the children who will wake up to this news in Las Vegas. Very soon, if you've been up all night, like so many of our friends and viewers have been up all night, you will be confronted with, how do I talk to my child about this? And I can only say we're not being offered any counsel right now, but I can tell you, having covered 9/11 and some of the other tragedies, the counsel is very much maybe keep